whose senior members are very close to the powers that be in government, and the statement that they had released on Thursday, or is it Thursday or Wednesday, calling for some drastic measures to be taken. The Parliamentary Committee on Health releasing a statement calling for some measures to be taken. It was very clear that the president was basically going to announce some measures, and they are needed. They were required. They are needed in order to halt the spread of the virus, and so that you don't overwhelm the already overwhelmed healthcare system. By the time Machakos is saying our hospital beds are full, Kiambu is saying the same, Nairobi is saying the same, it basically means that the system is being stretched. So there was something that needed to be done. However, the measures that were taken and now the confusion surrounding it, that's where the issue is. So what was the problem? Where did the problem emerge?
I think it's one of the things that we're talking about all the time. The problem emerged in the planning of this thing, in the planning, in the operations, how it was going to be worked out. There was no how, unfortunately. I think what we did was we realized the end product of a discussion, of a meeting that somebody had, and if there was any operation within, we then did not know. If there was a plan of how it was supposed to be then implemented, we did not know. Because what resulted after that announcement, literally minutes after that announcement, was absolute chaos. And then unfortunately there was more messaging that came that was completely mixed, and then the chaos multiplied.
Yeah.
If you look at just the details of what we're discussing, and you look at other statements that have come out of government agencies, you will find a pattern. You will find a common denominator. The reason why this is such a big hoo-ha is because we know what COVID does. We know the harm and the threat it poses. We know the deaths it has brought about. And it's a danger that has been imminent and apparent and real for the longest time. And if I look at the reactions, it means we have understood all along what COVID is. Forget the social media banter. Oh, is it there? Oh, is it not there? Oh, I have been vaccinated, but I didn't get a headache. Oh, if I have a running stomach. That didn't happen. The response that I saw tells me with great clarity that Kenyans, we actually understand COVID. We know what it can do, and it is something we are afraid of. So now, when you throw in a certain degree of confusion that we normally attribute to government messaging, my friend, you have a problem.
Look, I mean, I know that over the last 1 year, I have said maybe a million things about COVID. I can't. But I think one thing that and all of us have said over and over again is that the messaging and the communication has to be clear from the beginning. If you don't have clear-cut messaging, you're going to get in trouble. And here's a typical example of it. The messaging is not clear. The communication is not sufficient. We'll be talking about it later, but honestly speaking, there's a mess, and it's going to take a long time for it to unravel if some adequate attention is not paid to it and immediately. So it's not as though there was a mess on Friday and Saturday and then things are leveling off. There was a mess that was created on Friday and people are still in the throes of it right now as we speak.
If we give it just a little historical perspective, we've talked about enforcing the COVID rules. We've talked about the mess that was the increasing of beds and ensuring that people actually get vaccinated and that there's clarity as to who and where it is people should get vaccinated. It isn't one thing. It's a composite of all these things which have now culminated in this. But if you look at the increasing numbers that became alarming at the coast, within Mombasa, Nairobi and the metropolis that encompasses it, what we gleaned from the president's message is that 70% of what we're talking about in terms of numbers emanate from the area, this metropolis, this larger Nairobi, 70%. And the arithmetic was done further. It means 3 out of 5 people, if you were to test within that region, 3 out of 5, 3 will be positive. Out of these 5 people, only 2. Essentially, it means 6/10. Okay? Now, when you look at these numbers, they are horrific. They're not pleasant. in any way. Now, did we know this could happen? Of course we did. Was there sufficient security and compliance administration to ensure this happened? The answer is no.
No.
So, what did we expect? This was going to happen.
It was, we were heading here. It was clear.
Yes. And we said so on many occasions. We were steadily and most assuredly heading where we eventually ended up. And you know something? There's something else the government has said, that this isn't the worst yet. The peak will come in 2 months' time, around May. Remember when children went back to school, we said, this will have ramifications. And then we even had our headlines, super spreaders. Man, you look at political leaders and the throngs around them and you're wondering, goodness gracious me, what will be the outcome of this? And then we dared raise our voice and point a finger to our neighbors in Tanzania. We dared.
Okay. So, if we're looking at the numbers right now in Kenya, on the day of the announcement, no less, 2,008 new cases and 6 deaths in Kenya. That was on Friday. The following day, 1,152 cases. And then yesterday, Sunday, 884 new cases, 13 new deaths in the country. This takes Kenya's numbers now significantly higher, of course. And we're now at 130,214 cases. Collectively, 2,117 deaths. Just like what you were talking about, City, is that, we're looking at not yet Uhuru. If we can even look at it like that. Because, yes, we're looking at a peak towards the end of April, May. The same experts who told us that we would see a rise or a surge in the case numbers around this time are the same folks who are telling us now that we're not even gotten to the worst of it yet. We're likely to see higher numbers come about throughout the month of April, well into the month of May. So that is what we are looking at. Now, just under 100,000 people have been vaccinated in the last almost 1 month in the country. Still looking at, really, really low numbers in terms of vaccination. And the reasons as to why this is happening, I still do not understand why it is taking so long to do this and to get it done. We already have cases of centers where the vaccines are available, still overbooked already. And it's as though people are not even listening. All this one that people are talking about frontline workers, particular people in certain cadres of society being the first ones, people are not listening anymore. And they're saying, well, forget it. We're going to go ahead and get this vaccine. What are we going to get? We're probably going to get that the initial batch that was brought in soon will be finished, and then we will be waiting for more. So that's what we're seeing. So many things happened over the weekend as a result of this vaccine. But guess what? Or rather, as a result of these announcements because of COVID-19. But guess what? The numbers did not drop. Still getting more infections in the country. Over the weekend, we really would get lower numbers because of the testing that's done, because of the downtime of the weekend. We're likely to see more numbers today being Monday. So even with all of this happening, with the large traffic that we saw over the weekend, with the confusion, people cancelling their flights, with people losing jobs instantly, guess what? Infections are still on the rise. And I think that's somehow the thing that caused all of this chaos over the last 2 days is still present.
It is. There's when you think of infections, there's something that I've referred to here called the multiplier effect. You start with one person, infects a second person. It's not one more after that. It's now 4. 4 becomes 8. So if we're at a stage where, let's say, there are 100 people infected, the next level of infection will be 200. And then from 200, you go to 400. So now look at our numbers. Okay? What are we at, 15,000? Are we at 20,000? Have we 30,000? There's the point I'm getting at here. Look at that number and consider that the next time it'll be double that number. It doubles. That's the multiplier effect. So you're talking about infection rate. It's not going to go down today or tomorrow or this week. Because some people may be infected, but by the time they're tested or by the time it manifests itself, forget being out of the woods. We are actually getting deeper into the woods.
It's true. Look, there are many conversations to be had as to then why decisions were made in the way in which they were made, which we'll go into. But one thing that we need to remember is that COVID still is being spread. Right now, people are not even thinking about the fact or the high risk, high chance of infection, depending on where you go. But it's just a reminder out there that it definitely is happening. Let's look at what's happening in some other countries concerning the vaccine in quick 2 minutes. The misinformation battle is raging in France, and this is about the vaccine itself. What are we looking at here? Just quickly. France is one of the most vaccine skeptical countries in the world. And right now, they're dealing with conspiracies that are rife about falsehoods, about COVID-19, about the vaccine itself. And France now as a whole, population and government is asking themselves, is there something wrong with this vaccine that's coming out, whether it's AstraZeneca, whether it's Moderna, whatever it is? Anti-vaccine pages in France are mixing with anti-establishment posts. Many of the discussions center around concerns that the vaccine jabs, or rather the COVID jabs, could be made compulsory, with anti-establishment and protest communities fearing that French democracy will be placed with a so-called sanitary dictatorship. So France now is at that point where they are saying to themselves, look, if we don't want to take the vaccine, we shouldn't be forced. On the other hand, the government of Emmanuel Macron is saying, we need people to be protected. So we are asking that you please do this and don't put us in a position where we're going to have to make it mandatory. So they're dealing with that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. On this side of the pond, people are being asked to come out and get the vaccine, but how that will happen, we still do not know.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll be looking at more on this, on what's happening in terms of COVID spreading the community and vaccination and the numbers and cases of what's been reported in the papers shortly. The live stream is up, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Say hello to us. We'll be saying hello to you shortly after we take a look at the weather forecast for Nairobi, other cities and towns in the country and around the world. Good morning. It's 16 minutes after 6.
Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, looking at the skies this Monday morning in Nairobi, partly cloudy conditions at 17. That'll be the low for today, at least for now, going to highs of 27. It's partly cloudy in Nyeri at 15, highs of 25 and lows of 14. 15 will be the low in Nakuru. It's currently 16 and mostly cloudy. It'll go to highs of 25 in Eldoret, where it's mostly cloudy at 13. 30 will be the high in Kisumu. It's mostly cloudy coming into Monday morning at 21. Cloudy conditions in Kakamega as well, slightly cooler at 17, highs of 30 and lows of 16. 33 will be the high in Mombasa. It's mostly clear at 26. 27 in Malindi right now, going to highs of 33. Looking at a few clouds in Kampala at 18, highs of 26 and lows of 19 today. Dar es Salaam is mostly clear for now, high chance of rain later, going to highs of 32. 21 will be the high in Johannesburg, mostly cloudy at 12. Clear conditions in Lagos at 27, highs of 33, lows of 26. It's partly cloudy at 23 in Kinshasa. It will go to highs of 30 today. 17 the high in Beijing, quite sunny right now, and come down to lows of 5. Clear conditions in Paris at 6, highs of 21 and lows of 8. It's partly cloudy in London at 10, getting slightly warmer, going to highs of 19 and lows of 7. Rain showers cloud New York on Sunday night still. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 17 and lows of 7.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
18 minutes after
94.
6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Who is online this morning?
Okay, so everybody's waking up this Monday morning. Gasheri Wambijiwe Says things are getting bad. Good morning, team. Let the population get vaccinated somehow. I think that somehow is what a lot of people are going into now.
Yeah.
Jose Mine Ndohio says, good morning, guys. Well, it seems like he's trying to pepper this a bit of humor, but things are thick. Dear parent, universities have been closed. If your daughter is still in school, please start demanding dowry. She may be somewhere performing wifely duties. Okay. Patrick Loturi says, experts with no solution, but more pain for Kenyans. This is one thing that has come out. Looks like everybody's saying good morning and touching it with a little bit of what went on over the weekend. Waterman Jeffrey tuned in from Hennepin County. And Jeffrey Mochama is watching live from Kisumu, Kibos this morning. And we say good morning to you guys.
Kila mtu karibuni sana katika kipindi cha leo. City Muga. Today's proverb.
Right.
Today's the day. Today's today.
Leo ni today. Right. Now where is my proverb?
It's somewhere after Fridays.
Well, no. That's the whole point. I have a whole page in which I write these things. Then when I want the page now is another. Here we are. Silly page.
Let's take a walk.
Silly page.
Hey.
Okay. Supposing doesn't fill the grain basket, if doesn't fill the ladder. Let me repeat it. Did I say supposed?
You said.
Supposing. Supposing doesn't fill the grain basket, if doesn't fill the ladder.
Bas. Oh, supposing we did this and the other.
If only.
If you would just.
Only.
Perhaps.
Oh, perhaps. How? What about if?
Which is the cousin of Yaenda Ikawa.
Okay, let's take a look at the headlines.
Let's, shall we?
Yes.
Uhuru dilemma over fired senators is interesting as a topic here. Because we're going to go into a lot of this, but that's over there. COVID diaries of the vaccinated is what the Standard chose to look at today. Efforts to protect the country's frontline workers from the pandemic has been stalked by controversy, myths and outright lies. But after more than 90,000 people have braved long queues to get the jab, a cross-section of Kenyans have given their verdict. Coming from CAS Mercy Mwangangi, the Ministry of Health, supported by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, is monitoring for reported side effects. And so far, nothing significant that would warrant investigations has been reported. So they're not too worried about side effects, and they've not heard anything. And we're also realizing that this comes off the back of AstraZeneca having received some not so glowing reviews in Europe. So Kenyans who have received the COVID-19 jab have not reported adverse side effects so far, besides pain at injection points, at the injection site, headache, tiredness and muscle aches, according to Dr. Mercy Mwangangi. In other countries, mostly Europe, investigations have been launched regarding people experiencing blood clots. Early this month, Denmark suspended administering the Oxford AstraZeneca jab following fears of blood clots. It's noteworthy, she said, that a number of countries such as Canada, Spain, Italy, France and Belgium have resumed its use. She told the Senate Committee on Health, chaired by Kisumu Senator Fred Ota, that the ministry is monitoring side effects of the vaccine. The Ministry of Health, supported by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, is monitoring. And right now, they don't see anything that would warrant any investigation into the same. And so there are testimonials of people who've taken it from Dr. Patrick Amoth himself, Professor Nyang Nyongo of Kisumu, Lee Kinyanjui of Nakuru, Wilberforce Otilo of Vihiga, and George Natembeya as well, having taken this. So across board, a number of people have taken the vaccine and have said they have not, including our own Dr. Mercy Korir. So nobody has issues with it so far, and that's what they're
Many
looking
of the
at.
people who've basically been interviewed are saying, okay, so I got this, I just had a mild headache, frontal headache. That's others saying I didn't get anything. I didn't get any side effects. CT, any side effects?
No.
Nothing.
You know, the thing is, there's the anticipatory side effects, okay? But what do you measure it with? When I get dehydrated and I'm out in the sun, I have a headache.
Yes.
Every once in a while, I eat something that doesn't agree with me, I have a stomachache. This not being at ease all the time is not something that is unusual. So at what point do you know it is the vaccine or it isn't? But it's something I must point out. Whenever you are researching into a medical product such as a vaccine, there is a body that is set out throughout the world Each country has their own. It's called a DSMB, Data Safety and Monitoring Board. Their job is to do what you saw happening in Europe. The moment there appears, not there is, that a link between what is being administered and certain conditions, you stop.
How do they collect the data?
It's reported. You see.
So from health facilities?
Yes, it is reported.
Okay.
Remember, we also said that the licensing had to do, the permissions were for emergency use. And we said COVID is an emergency. So data is still being collected because you are now rolling it out to a much larger population, and they understand that you will likely see things that you didn't see in the control or the groups that you had when you're actually experimenting with it in a lab setup. So this is what's happening now. Other countries using not just the AstraZeneca vaccine, other vaccines. This one seems to be the one talked about most. There will be similar cases. And the rule is you stop. You investigate.
Halt first, investigate.
You halt, you investigate. When you find there's no connection, you continue. If there is, you stop it completely.
Okay. So in the case of Kenya and our DSMB, this has been in existence for a while, right?
We've had the DSMB for the longest time.
So it already has a structure of reporting.
It does.
From a health center.
It does.
All the way up.
It does.
Within how many hours should an information get from a health center to the DSMB?
It's on a daily basis.
So every day.
Every day.
Every health facility.
People are being vaccinated.
Knows.
Yes. People. You see, this is now where our communication sometimes fails us. When it's a massive rollout for the whole country, people need to be told that if you feel unwell, please go back to the health facility
and report.
That is what you're told.
Yeah.
In a research setting, you're followed up because it's research. There are people who actually follow you up. They call you and find out. So the information is gathered even faster. But what we know from people who've complained about supposed effects of the vaccine, they have reported it.
Yep.
It isn't as though they got the vaccine and immediately something went wrong. No. And even when something appeared to go wrong, there's always a question, okay, is it because of the vaccine?
Is it because of the vaccine or because of something?
Some underlying conditions.
Right.
But now, as we're talking about the vaccine, let's talk about something that is real and something that's going to happen to us. The vaccines that we are getting in Kenya come from the Serum Institute in India. It's the biggest manufacturer of vaccines in the whole world.
Okay.
All right? Because the demand for vaccines has increased in India, right? They are now balancing between local consumption of the vaccine and giving it to the COVAX understanding. The understanding is what we belong to also. So vaccines that were being expected in May, the month in which you were told to anticipate them, give it another month. Expected the month that will follow. Simply because, yes, they're producing them, but the local demands have increased. Yes, that's just the reality. I thought I would add in that little rider.
So with this particular manufacturer, so the manufacturer is the one that is manufacturing a lot of the
yes,
the AstraZeneca.
They are.
All right. And AstraZeneca is coming from them. It's going to the COVAX. program of the WHO. It's going to other countries that are importing.
Yes.
Then we see a surge in India.
We see a serious surge in India.
And the government of India says, come on, guys, we cannot be exporting while we have our people who require this thing.
Yes.
So there's an order by the government of India to look at first thinking internal before you start thinking external.
It's what we call vaccine nationalism.
Bas. So now,
if we were expecting vaccines in April, expect them to come in May. If we're expecting them at the end of March, expect them in early April. There'll be a delay. It's not that you won't get them. It's just that to meet the local demand, some of the orders that had been placed will now have to be delayed. Remember, delayed, not cancelled, delayed. Yes.
Yep. But should a government have that kind of power?
Does the manufacturer have that sort of power?
Right, because you see, I'm saying the manufacturer has already entered into contracts,
yes,
supply contracts with various governments, with various organizations. And then your local government comes and tells you, you cannot honor that contract first, you need to honor this contract. Yeah.
Why don't you let me pepper this thing a little bit for you? We are coming a little late into the game. The European Union has been complaining seriously about this. They had big orders, some claim even prepaid, and they have been delayed to the point where they've been giving this institute and AstraZeneca ultimatums. You either supply us by this time or
else.
Yes, exactly. They've gotten that phase. So it isn't as though it's only the COVAX initiative who are being delayed. No, it isn't. Even the EU have had issues with the supply that they ordered and they anticipated.
Even the UK is also going to suffer the same.
Yes,
It's also
they will.
suffering the same.
They will.
Okay. So, as we take a look at the other headlines, I think let's just take a break at this point and then we look at others in coming minutes. Let's tell you about Standard Jobs, where you can actually go to a website by the Standard Group, jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. That's jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Are you looking for a job? Do you want to advertise a job that you want people to come and apply? That's a place to go, jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Various jobs that have been listed. So what this is offering is a service where there are job listings, there will be personalized newsletters, incoming days, news alerts, or jobs alerts or via SMS for a job that you have basically said, I qualify for this kind of work. Some jobs that are already listed there. The Kenya National Hospital is looking for a human resource officer. The World Panel Division is looking for a research associate who's an intern. The National Biosafety Authority looking for a record management officer. A sales officer is needed by Jumia KE. And also the Standard Media is looking for a truck driver. So all these jobs, these are some of the top jobs that are listed here on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Just log on there. You go and find the jobs. If you think that you qualify for any of these, please go ahead and find out how you can apply and how you can then be shortlisted for interviews. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. 6:30. Time for us to take a look at the traffic.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Sarit, your city, is inviting you for an Easter celebration like no other. Come over with your family and loved ones from the 2nd to the 5th of April and enjoy a special Easter-themed shopping experience with special mall deco, the Easter Village, Sana art display for the lovers of art. Enjoy unlimited live performances. Don't forget to check out the Easter Fair, where you can get great deals and offers. All this and more only at Sarit, your city. All COVID-19 protocols set by the Ministry of Health shall be observed.
The realest and craziest couple are now on your screens. Terrence and Chebi are bringing you top celebrities and trendsetters on Thursday Night Live. It's double the fun and double the laughter every Thursday at 10 p.m. on KTN Home. Are you a wholesale buyer of farm produce looking for constant and reliable supply of produce? Introducing Vuna, the wholesale marketplace for fresh produce. A joint project by Standard Group's Farm Kenya in partnership with Agit. With the Vuna Market, you can say goodbye to uncertainties of procuring produce in bulk. Vuna Market connects wholesale buyers to a network of verified farmers working through reliable bulking centers countrywide with the benefit of standard weights, measures, and packaging, as well as transparent pricing for agricultural commodities that can be viewed at www.vuna.co.ke. Download the Vuna app for free today from the Google Play Store to have constant access to a consistent and transparent marketplace at the palm of your hand. And if you are a farmer looking to supply your produce at competitive prices, you can get in touch with the closest bulking center near you by emailing us on farmkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to
All right,
Spice
in the midst of all of
FM.
this, Thika Road is moving not too badly this morning from Muthaiga. It's slow, but it's moving. We're not at any bumper to bumper just yet. It's also moving pretty well on Mombasa Road this Monday morning. Trying to get in and out of the city. We probably will see some more traffic this morning, but let's just wait and see how that will be. So traffic on Ngong Road has been affected by this stalled trailer on Kingara Road this morning. That stops things from flowing smoothly right now. Juja Road from Lango Kubwa roundabout towards Pangani, traffic is moving very fast this morning. Not a problem at all. Coming off of Thika Road is actually moving very, very well. Okay, so let's look at how it shapes out in the next half hour or so. The bypass is looking pretty good. We're probably going to see a lot of traffic this morning outbound and inbound as well. It is the last day that people can move around until about 12 o'clock. So let's Also see what that looks like coming into the city of Nairobi from the airports. All right, we'll keep you abreast of how this is going. Let us know also, should you see any information that we should know about, let us know on SpiceFMKE on Twitter, text on 40127, and let's keep us informed and hope it doesn't turn into a manic Monday.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Minutes to 7 o'clock. We're looking at the headlines in the papers. So Uhuru is under pressure to ease pain. Intense lobbying for the head of state to ease some of the COVID-19 lockdown measures announced on Friday. Tourism sector players say containment has put 1.3 million jobs at risk, and they suggest a less punitive safety plan. This is the headline in The Nation this morning, and it's looking at the affected sectors: education, students sent home as schools, colleges and universities close indefinitely again. Sports clubs within Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, Nakuru to lose business. Federation of Kenya Employers says impact of the lockdown will be immediate and far-reaching on people's incomes. Matatu Owners Association wants the transport industry to be exempted from these measures. Tourism, Kenya Tourism Federation wants tourists to move freely if they have negative COVID test results. We are not talking about those other local small-time businesses, bars, restaurants, eateries, where now people can no longer just walk in, sit down and have a meal. So many of them are closing down immediately. So this is going to have some direct, severe and significant impact. And that's why now the story basically is saying that the president is being urged to ease some of these restrictions. So let's look at, for example, what the tourism industry is saying. Local domestic flights have until midday tomorrow. Oh, today. Today is Monday. Midday today. And then they were supposed to be banned. But international flights were initially allowed. Now, we've seen further communication later from airlines saying, okay, we've been allowed to fly around and about the country with international tourists. So how about local tourists? The Kenya Tourism Federation is saying, why not introduce a way in which you're saying, just the same way if somebody wanted to travel from Nairobi to Entebbe via JKIA, they go for a COVID test and it's valid within 24 hours or 48 hours. Why not do the same? If you want to board a flight from Nairobi to Mombasa, just come with a negative COVID test that's still valid and you board the flight. Same if you want to go to Eldoret to Kisumu, board with a valid COVID negative certificate.
Because the logic here is that international tourists are doing exactly that.
Yep.
That if you present a negative test, then you then may traverse the country. So why can't you do that then with the locals? On the other side, the argument would be that because you have many more in terms of the locals and...
Many more what? Many more negative?
In terms of population.
People who have tested negative.
No, in terms of population. The numbers that then you would see traversing would be higher than international tourists.
Yeah. And I also see, if you say that people who can fly can present a COVID negative certificate, the bus companies will say, we can do the same.
We can do the same, exactly. There's no reason why anybody by train...
If somebody who wants to go to Mombasa via SGR or by any of the buses, just present a negative test and travel.
We know the lockdown actually presents a very viable condition in which everything that we're seeing here can actually be implemented. Lockdown, fine. So tell people where it is they can get tested. Because these horrendous costs that are attached to costs of testing will prohibit many people.
Yeah.
Okay. So just like we gave a waiver and we find money for all manner of things that we like doing, can we? Yes, we do. Can we consider ensuring that people can actually have tests available for them? Now, if you can do that, then all these measures can be instituted. You can then say that because this has been available for you to be able to move from point A to B, we expect you to do the following. But in the absence of that, because remember, a compliance is the issue that we've been dealing with here.
Yeah.
If indeed people were compliant, or an environment within which compliance was made easier was possible. I was talking to my brother who lives in Mombasa, and he was telling me that even before this lockdown, said in Mombasa, they were already very strict about movement. By the time it gets to a few minutes to 10, you will be stopped and you'll be asked where you're going, because they can tell you are. And if you give a good reason, like you're going to hospital, you're doing something, they'll let you pass. They know very well you're going to come back through the same route anyway. And they'll ask you to show them the documentation that proves that you actually went to the
hospital.
Yes.
Right.
Now, which of these measures can we easily put in place? Can we institute compliance? We can. Are we willing to institute compliance? We're willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we willing to ensure that we make it easy for people to get tested? We can. You know, this talk about constraints or financial constraints, my friend, an entire discipline is dedicated to just understanding the scarcity of resources and how do you apply it. It's called economics. That's what it does. So it isn't as though when you don't have as much as you had before, you cannot function. You can function.
You can function.
And you can prioritize.
There are people who have the expertise on this, and they basically know what can be done.
They know.
The thing, though, is if we said that we're instituting a lockdown, first of all, what's the principle behind instituting a lockdown? Is because we want to minimize movement as much as possible so that we can minimize transmission.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
So it's not about that you are negative, so therefore you should be free to move around.
No.
It's you're negative, so stay negative.
Yes.
So if we now start saying, okay, no, you know what? If I present a COVID negative certificate, I should be allowed to fly from here to Mombasa.
That's not the
and
point.
then I'll go and mingle with people in Mombasa, and then I can test if I'm positive. So if you're positive and you've gone to Mombasa, what happens? We're trying to avoid that eventuality. So it's a very tricky balance here.
That's the unfortunate thing. And then you have the other side of the argument that says, you know what? When you institute something like a lockdown, what you're trying to actually do is protect livelihoods.
Yeah.
Because then without life, then what are you going to...
Well,
what are you going to
these
eat?
rules on or for?
Or for. You know, so it's very tricky because you're trying to protect people. Look, as ugly as it looks and all the drama that occurred as a result of it, at the very bottom, the intent is really to protect people. That's the intent. Now, unfortunately, what follows in terms of the operations that then have not been carried out then mars the intent. And that's the unfortunate thing about all of this. It mars the intent because really what you want to do is to stop it from moving, just as you're saying. It's not to curtail people's rights. It's not to make people suffer. It would seem like it is because you're not then doing anything to make sure that they've been buffered. But the original intent is to make sure that the virus does not spread. And you can only break the chain if you break the movement of people that is normal. And I think that's one thing that needs to continually keep coming out in all of this. But is it possible to do things that people then can live on while you put these measures in place?
Yes.
And I think also we need to make it very clear that it absolutely is. Yeah, it is.
This is going to be a tough and a tight one. Well, at the same time, we'll be having this conversation in the 7 o'clock hour with Kwame Owino, an economist. And there's now the issue of, so what safety measures or safety nets have you given the population? There's very many people, close to 7 or 10 million people, who you've locked down and said, you are in the one zone, you are not supposed to move in or out, you're not supposed to open restaurants, you're not supposed to open some forms of business. How are you supporting them as a government?
Exactly.
As social protection measures? What should have been implemented by government or what should have been announced by the government? So we'll be having a conversation with Kwame Owino at 7 o'clock, and that will come in quite handy at the same time. In the meantime, KEMRI says that according to their models, more than 1 million people will likely be infected with COVID-19 by June as a third wave of COVID-19 sweeps across the country. Projections by KEMRI show. Researchers say under the most plausible scenario, the rate of COVID-19 cases and deaths would peak this month into April. Underlying the observed epidemic, we project that there will be 1.1 million infections over this period. That's between January and June, with the large majority of infections remaining undetected because of the limitations on testing. So it sets the impact of other events such as new variants could fuel fresh infections and deaths exceeding the predictions. And although Kemri says it's unlikely that the new infections will surpass the second wave, the current COVID-19 situation points to a bigger epidemic.
1.1 million. Look at the
Between Jan and June.
Right. But right now, where we are
those that have been confirmed positive so far.
Those have been confirmed 130,000 in the country.
Right.
So if we're saying in the next 2-3 months, according to these predictions, in the next 3 months, another 870,000 people would have been infected with COVID-19 in Kenya. We're not talking about in the region. We're saying from these predictions, if it is true, in 90 days, almost 7 times the current number of the...
No, within 90, because they're saying
within 90 days.
This is between January and June.
Yeah, but right now
1.1 million people would have been infected. Many of them will not have been detected because testing, because asymptomatic.
Exactly. We will not know. Okay, I think right now, the 130,000 that we have is unofficial numbers.
From March last year.
Yes. 130,000 in the last 1 year is unofficial numbers of COVID-19 in the country. I think many more people have been infected. There are people who did not present with symptoms. There are people who got sick and did not present themselves to hospital or even get tested.
Yeah.
And this thing may have passed. And we saw reports like that came from in organizations like AMREF, Kemri itself. And I've said, you know what, the likelihood of, where are we looking at now? That even the president announced it on Friday, that in every 10 people, or in every 5 people, 3 of them is likely to have COVID in the country. Are those numbers being reported officially? No, they're not. They're not.
They're not being captured.
No, they're not.
Because testing.
Because testing, for sure.
You know, this is the odd thing when you talk about prevalence, because prevalence is a factor of testing. So if you test 20% of the people, the figures you'll be giving are of the 20% that you've tested. So the other 80 will remain undocumented, untested. And so
unknown.
Yes, and in reality, you will not have a true picture of what the prevalence rate is actually is in the country.
And then will you be able to say that with that adequate data then now is informing decisions? You can't. Because if you're looking at then scientific processes that need to take place as a result of that, and you're saying that we are basing all of this on the information that we have, if the source of information or if the information itself is flawed, then your decisions are also
flawed.
Not entirely. Not entirely. They are flawed, but when I say not entirely, what I mean is this. Sometimes you can only use the information that you have and you can extrapolate. Why do I say this? For instance, if we say that from the figures that we are seeing, it appears that 3 out of every 5 people who are tested in Nairobi could be infected, then that alone should give you an indication of what might happen if you test more. Might. Remember the suppositions here. So what do? You don't lock down the whole country, but you lock down the regions that immediately come into contact with Nairobi.
But City, what was your proverb this morning? We cannot go by if and but. Is that not what you just said?
Yes, that is what I said.
Yeah.
Supposing
we did.
Yes, but even my rebuttal, if you notice, it was tentative. It wasn't certain. It wasn't affirmative. I said it's tentative because it isn't a complete walking in the dark. You have something to go by, but you wish you had more. Because you can't sit back and not have anything to go by and have no action whatsoever.
It's true. But the testing that we are seeing now is not any kind of targeted testing anywhere in the country. The testing that we are seeing now is as a result of people presenting themselves to hospital if they are sick.
Voluntary.
Or those people who need to travel, for example, and need a certificate. The only way for them to get that is if they get tested. And then you find that somebody could be positive here or there. Or if you have some kind of workplace mandated testing, that's what happens to be able to see then what is going on in the office. But in terms of community targeted testing, it's not happening. It's not happening.
True, it's not. Let's take another break at 13 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. What we're doing right now is looking at the main newspaper headlines, and we'll be looking at that into the next hour. Good morning.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
right.
Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so unfortunately, cases of measles rise in counties as parents fail to take their babies for the jab. Here's another jab, another disease that for a lot of people takes center stage. The country experienced increase in measles cases in some counties after immunization programs suffered due to medical emergency occasioned by COVID-19, leaving unvaccinated children exposed. Measles, the world's most contagious virus, is often subdued by vaccination. In West Pokot County, for instance, cases of measles shot up from 7 in 2019 to 17 in 2020, a 200% increase according to the National Disease Monitoring data. In Kenyan hospitals, public health officials reported that 429 children were taken to various health facilities with the telltale signs of measles, which include weakness, fever, congested chests with red eyes, painful mouth sores, and inability to eat. Out of these cases, 17 were from West Pokot, which joined Tana River, Wajir, Garissa, and Kilifi counties, with reported measles cases in the last quarter of 2020, and unfortunately, 2 children died. The highest number of measles outbreaks was 12 in the Dadaab refugee camp in Garissa, which has a fragile immunization programs. Lockdown and fear of contracting the coronavirus kept mothers and caregivers away from hospitals where vaccines are given. In fact, women who gave birth at home avoided going to hospitals altogether. So we're seeing that there is what will be called an outbreak in some parts. And again, looking at the importance of vaccinations and how this needs to be done. And saying that the immunization is available. It's just not being taken because of other logistical problems, but hopefully this can be sorted out. Children are particularly vulnerable to measles because they are carefree in the playground, touch one another, and know little about keeping distance. Again, remember, the most contagious virus on the planet is measles. And this one is a big deal.
Wow. It's a big one. On the political front, Mr. David Were, who was the ODM candidate in the just concluded Matungu by-election, is preparing to go to court to challenge that election and the win that was declared for the ANC candidate Peter Nabulindo.
Okay.
So ODM Secretary General has confirmed this. Mr. Edwin Sifuna has confirmed that the man is likely to go to court. This is the candidate's petition. Some of the grounds include voter suppression and violence. Now, I don't know why it's even taken so long. You don't even need to file many things in court. You just need to go and say, look.
This thing is not okay.
Yeah. Even ordinary voters in Matungu could go to court and just say, look, we were denied an opportunity to go and participate in this civic duty because there was rampant violence.
We did mention this at the time, didn't we? We said, given all this confusion, how then can you say that the people of that constituency actually had the capacity, the means, and the freedom to exercise their electoral rights?
Yeah.
And now it's coming out.
And there it is.
And there it is.
It's all out there.
Right, since we're talking about elections, the Star on page 6 reports that there is a move by the IEBC to spend 9 million shillings for a Dubai trip for boundaries review training.
Okay.
Sorry, what?
IEBC have determined that there is an executive training on electoral boundaries, delimitation and modelling.
All right.
Now, this process actually is supposed to take place next year, right? But there's a thinking that they ought to take people for that training. Now, let me quote what is attributed to the chairman, Wafula Chebukati. While much of the training is available and done locally, some are not available locally, okay? This same group, we're told, trained at Utali College, and they were trained by the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources and Development. It's an institute that prides itself in this, okay? But then, the question that is being asked is, okay, you want to take this trip to Dubai because you feel this is where you can get further training, all right? There's also the question of, are these the right people to actually take for this training? The rebuttal is, people assume that commissioners don't need to be trained in understanding these things. And they're saying, yes, but the technical people who are involved in this process are the ones who needed to be trained. So let me say, this whole situation is boiling nicely. And yes,
like a nice frog.
yes, it's boiling nicely, and the discussions are back and forth about it with regards. And part of the problem is that it is seen as a first move to going back to these expensive trips that the government had actually banned. And the question is, and this is a valid one, if you must travel, remember, did we not have a group of MPs who also went to Dubai the other day to train?
To some train.
And were not similar questions asked? Couldn't the trainers have come?
Muliuliza maswali, they went, they came back. Maswali yenu ni kelele ya chura.
Yes.
Haimzuii ng'ombe kufanya nini?
Kunywa maji.
Bas.
And we are now raising those same issues with the IEBC. Remember, the last boundary review was done during the chairmanship of one Vihiga MP, Andrew Ligale.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
That's the last time it was done. So they say they want to think about it. And at that
they were
time,
supposed to actually do it from 2020
yes,
last year.
Yes.
It should be happening every 10 years.
Mm.
And no shorter than 2 years to an election. I mean,
Yes.
it shouldn't be within 2 years to an election,
And
right?
so here we already
So
have
here
a
we
problem.
are. An
We already have
election
a
is
problem
next
there.
year.
Mhm.
So here we are. Okay, so commissioners need to be trained, sawa. But one of the qualifications for a commissioner should be understanding elections and boundaries issues as a commissioner of the Electoral and Boundaries
It's a
Commission.
one of the minimum requirements.
Yeah. So now...
no, it's further understanding. Further
Of what it means to have a boundary.
Further understanding. and of
Beacons
course,
nowadays are not just hizo vitu na korogea na simiti.
No.
Beacons can now be...
And of course, this could not fail to be pointed out that the acting chief executive officer for the 7-day trip, the director stand to earn close to 900,000 in allowances. This one had to come in, of course. Okay. Experts say that the millions can train 290 returning officers and 47 county returning officers. So,
yeah, but now we need to train the trainers.
now we need to train the bosses so that they understand what their people who are
What
not
their people who are not going to be trained are doing.
You've understood it perfectly.
Okay.
It's important.
Isn't it just?
Yeah. Ndu.
Yes.
This ship, page 29 of the Standard.
The Suez Canal.
Okay, so
that thing's a problem.
There's a traffic.
What's the issue here?
There's a traffic jam. So there's a wedged ship in the Suez Canal. And the biggest traffic jam ever. A giant container ship remained stuck sideways in Egypt's Suez Canal for a 6-day yesterday as authorities made new attempts to free the vessel and reopen a crucial waterway whose blockage is disrupting global shipping and trade. So obviously we know that the canal is a major point from shipments around the world. All right. So now this vessel stuck in the middle of everything and nobody can move in either direction. All right. The head of the Suez Canal Authority said strong winds were not the only cause for the Ever Given running around on Tuesday, and that's the name of the ship, appearing to push back against the assessments offered by others. Right. The massive Ever Given, a Panama-flagged ship that carries cargo between Asia and Europe, got stuck in a single-lane stretch of the canal about 6 kilometers north of the southern entrance near the city of Suez. They are not able to predict when this ship will be dislodged. A Dutch salvage firm is attempting to refloat the vessel with tugboats and dredgers, taking advantage of high tides. That has not happened just yet. They remain hopeful that the dredging would free the ship without having to resort to removing its cargo. So now there's cargo on the ship. The ship is stuck. They've not been able to remove it. They've not been able to float the vessel. This is not happening. It's a very difficult situation. And there are shipments coming in both directions that have been backed up for the last 6 days.
320 vessels waiting on both ends of the canal.
On both ends of the canal, and they're losing $400 million an hour.
Wow.
And
this is a sweet one.
It is, and the Egyptian government is also losing money on a daily basis for berthing charges.
Yes.
Now they told that 10% of the world's oil trade goes through the Suez Canal, 8% of the world's natural gas goes through there. And right now there are 200 ships waiting. 100. And you know, ships are usually the size of several football fields. So 200 of them.
Those are many.
Now the alternative is to turn around. And by the way, these things don't do a 3-point turn. Okay? It's turn around and go round and do a tour of Africa.
Go through the whole
That's
of
the only
Africa now
option
to go into.
for these other vessels that are waiting. That's the only option.
How much more would they spend by going round?
Yeah, it's either they wait it out or
Just look at how
go
much you're
round.
spending.
This is
is
a
a
big
big
one.
one. One of the biggest ships on earth, container ships on earth. This one. Maybe it's about time that the Egyptian government started considering doing, I think, a superhighway on the Suez Canal.
The problem
Make a
that-
multi-lane canal.
You see, this thing,
dual
the Egyptian
carriageway.
government, $15 million
Dual
a
carriageway on
day.
the seas.
But where the problem lies is this, and this is the complaints that have come up, that one, the sort of tugboats that you require for salvaging or help, they don't have. Meaning, let me put it simply, the high-tech equipment that are required to help in such a situation was never invested in with the authority that the Egyptians have for this. So now they had to go to Holland to get the world's leading salvage company to come in. And you know, they also charge you per
That's
hour.
not- it's not free now.
By the time that tugboat leaves Holland,
it's on the books.
they're charging you. Okay. So the other calamity that's brought in is insurance.
Bus.
Insurance companies now have to deal with all this mess.
Yes. It's a big one. Keep it right here. In the next hour, we talk about the new COVID-19 restrictions and the effect that that's likely to have on livelihoods of Kenyans. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest situation conversation. It is the Situation Room on SpiceFM online, and shortly we'll be live on KTN Home. It's 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Spice FM. Nakuru. Traffic.
The Thika Superhighway is not looking too bad this morning. Traffic going in both directions actually looking quite good. So it looks like a lot of folks are saying lockdown is actually in effect and we don't have traffic. Now, where we do have traffic, talking about another vessel that's in the middle of the road, Kingara Road, a truck has stalled there and it's affecting traffic in both directions, going towards Ngong Road and then going towards James Gishuru. So you have to watch out for this one. The Kingara Road junction, keep off if you can. It's piled up, spilling over towards James Gishuru, also onto Ngong Road. So that's what you see there. Juja Road, Mlango Kubwa towards the Pangani traffic lights moving very fast this morning and not a problem whatsoever. It's building up on Mombasa Road as you're trying to get into and out of the city. Right around Airtel with the construction continuing. The Lekoni interchange is going to pose a challenge this morning. It's slow as you get to the southern bypass as well. Apart from that, it doesn't look too bad as you're trying to get into the city from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, moving along just slowly, but not at a bumper to bumper yet. We'll keep an eye on things and see how this opens up. Around about 7 o'clock, we'll take a look. Help us out. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40125. Let's see how we can keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2.5 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. A very good morning to you wherever you're tuned in. Well, we are live on Spice FM in Nairobi 94.4, Mombasa it's 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, 87.9, I've said it's 7.9 in Mombasa, right? And Kisumu is 102.5,
Yes.
and Nakuru is 96.0, and Eldoret is 96.7, Nyeri 90.9, and Malindi 97.7. We are also live now on KTN Home for the next 2 hours until 9 o'clock. City Muga, today's proverb.
Yes, the little mix-up that I had in the morning was resolved. Supposing does not fill the grain basket, if doesn't fill the ladder.
Supposing does not fill the grain basket.
If does not fill the ladder.
Does not fill the ladder. Nice. supposing now we decided to reopen the economy.
If the government decided.
If only the government could give us something.
You know, someone ought to do this. Do you hear that one often? You know, someone ought to. I say, okay. Indeed, someone ought to.
Yes.
If only someone did. Someone is never really easily identified, but it is hope that they're hearing and they will know it is them who's being referred to.
They will then raise their hand and...
Yes, they will.
All right.
So let's talk about these measures that were announced by the president on Friday.
So certain things to come into place as a result of this announcement that was made on Friday.
Yes.
And it was a bit of a shocker. Whereas there was a feeling in the minds of people that something was going to happen when we started to see these numbers rising around the country and that something was going to be done. I think the shock and horror came about in twofold. It was not expected that a lockdown of this nature would be enforced. And secondly, it was not expected that, again, people would not be given time to be able to get through. So can we just remind ourselves of some of the things that came about as a result of this announcement on Friday? All right. Number one, what we're looking at: restriction of movement by road, rail and air in and out of the counties of Nairobi, Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu and Nakuru. So there were different spots that were given across these counties, and they're all being put together as one zone, these 5 counties. All right. Transition period. The government is aware that some of our people may have been locked in and out of the zoned area. For those affected, the government has allowed for the transition period until today. It started being yesterday. It is now today. This applies to college students as well. So they were then given an opportunity to travel if they were within this zone and they needed to get out. Individuals who had bought SGR or plane tickets are allowed to use them between today and Monday. Today now being the day before yesterday, and Monday today by midday, a time upon which SGR and domestic flights in and out of the zone area would be suspended. Individuals who had special passes to travel, initially it was announced that they would be vacated, but they can use them for now until Tuesday, and then the application of new passes then would begin. Enterprises whose workforce are deployed in double shifts then would be able to work, and this did not affect them. International flights, those with a negative COVID-19 CPR certificate, then would be able to travel. And we also hear that specialized treatment can continue on a case-by-case basis for those who then presented themselves to government and then were able to discuss this. Sporting activities not taking place. Physical gatherings for worship to churches and mosques within the 5-zone area had been suspended. In-person worship, but in-person worship around the country outside this 5-zone would continue. And we saw that the curfew then within these 5 counties had been brought forward to 8 p.m. So the curfew now is 8 to 4 a.m., 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. within these 5 areas, and that bars, restaurants, in-house dining suspended completely. You can just have a takeaway service. No sale of alcohol and things like this. So, I mean, there were so many things that was said on Friday, and it threw the country into some kind of confusion. And people, the first thing that they wanted to do was make sure that they got out or got in, getting into the zone or getting out so that you would not be stuck. But one thing that we did see was that hundreds of thousands of people instantly lost their jobs on Friday. So where you had a job when you woke up in the morning, by the day Friday was over, you didn't have one, especially those in the service and hospitality industry. We saw that going into Easter this weekend, that there were so many bookings that were made for travel, especially at the travel spots and destinations around the country. With that order and with that announcement, those holidays, for example, those bookings were cancelled. People got cancellations rapidly, and deposits that were made then were asked. Were asking for refunds. People who work on a day-to-day basis and earn a certain amount, who work in restaurants, who work in hotels, who work in bars, as a result of that order, their bosses were asking them, well, you know what, sorry, but you can't report to duty today. Not in the next 1 week, but today you don't have a job. And we don't know when this will stop. We don't know when this situation will be eased off, but you don't have a job. We're looking at hundreds of thousands. We heard from the Ministry of Tourism that this could easily affect 1.3 million people instantly. Within the next 1 week, 1.3 million people would be rendered jobless. And so it threw people into confusion on that one side. On the second side, we saw traffic until 3 a.m. Saturday, because people were then trying to either get out or people were trying to get in so that they would not be stuck. We had university students who were then confused completely because they were told, well, you know what, school has closed. So you, by midnight tonight, you stay here or you need to get where you're going. People who had traveled outside of this 5-zone area and were planning to come back in a week or two, then needed to make the decision about whether they were going to come back or whether they were going to stay where they were. So it threw everybody into a confusion that only happened to this magnitude a year ago. But the difference was, for a lot of people, that even with all of this, there was no mention of what would happen to people who then lost their jobs. There was no protection or announcement in terms of what would happen for people then who did not know what to do come Saturday morning. So you lock them down, but you don't give them an option in terms of what can happen. And the question that we're asking ourselves this morning is there practical, realistic solution that the government can give in a time like this? Is there something that can be done? Because yes, we saw the throwing up of arms and saying, oh, you know what, they've locked us down, but we don't have anything. Asking ourselves the question, can something actually be done?
So I've seen conversations among the person that we wanted to have a conversation with this morning, Kwame Owino, the executive director of the Institute for Economic Affairs. And he was saying, okay, I get the disappointment that people have that the president has not announced any tax measures. But you know what? That's not his power. He has no powers to do that. That's the role of Parliament to come up with tax cuts and such tax measures. Okay. However, at the same time, what could the president do? What can the executive do in terms of saying, all right, these are some of the safety net measures that we're going to roll out. These are some of the social protection measures that we can roll out. We understand that right now there are X number of people who are going to get affected directly by this. When you say that restaurants, eateries have to close down and that people are not going to be able to go and eat within those restaurants, but they have to do carry a takeaway service, there are very many eateries where people will not be able to do takeaway service. They rely on people coming, sitting down, eating, going. When you say people, let's try as much as possible to work from home, you're reducing the number of people who actually come and bring business to some of these organizations. So what is it that the government could have done then to say, as this happens over the next period of time, we don't know how long this is going to be, this is what we can do to support people.
The vast majority of eateries are actually informal, not formal.
Yes.
That's where most people eat. And why they eat there is because that food is freshly cooked on a daily basis. There is no carryover.
Yep.
That's number one.
And it's affordable.
Very, very, very affordable. So you are saying that even if with the reduced numbers of people who may be working in the business sectors, in the manufacturing sectors, you've already curtailed the spots at which they can eat. That is to begin with. The very people who actually need this support and who have needed it when we first had a lockdown are going to need it even more. So long as economic activities, that need is reduced significantly because somebody can earn a living. But what this has done, it has cut that earning immediately.
Yep.
Not gradually, immediately. However, when we say that the president is not able to make that decision, yes, from an academic perspective, he can't, but practically he can.
How so?
You see, I'm going to begin by being facetious. Our parliament has been held captive for the longest time by the executive. Okay? So whereas it is them who functionally make those decisions, they can be told what to do.
Yeah.
Okay?
They rubber stamp decisions made elsewhere.
Yes. And far less, not in terms of comparison, you cannot compare those decisions with this one, the one we're dealing with here. Because this falls into the category of life and death issues for most people. Can they make those decisions? Yes. Can they be prompted to? I'm now being less facetious. Can they be prompted to make those? Yes, they can. Can they renew the decision that had been made previously? Okay. Now, the making of those decisions would then have to do with the Ministry of Finance, who have been repeatedly hinting and telling us that they don't have money, and yet they're functioning. If they had shut down, I'd really believe they don't have money. So long as they're functioning, they have money. They need to agree with whatever bodies we have within the government to see what can be done. Because no one is saying, give everybody 100,000 shillings each. No, they're saying, tell us the plan. Tell us, yes, we've understood the lockdown. Tell us the plan you have. Because those who are vulnerable didn't stop becoming vulnerable. And those who moved out of that phase and scale of vulnerability have gone back to it. What is your plan? And how do you plan to implement it? That's what they're being told. And
is it possible that the government is caught between a rock and a hard place, between announcing plans and actually being able to implement those plans? So they don't want to make promises that you really cannot deliver or fulfill. So, for instance, if today we went back to saying reduce VAT by some 200 basis points again, let's reduce income tax again. So you're basically saying let's reduce the amount of money that the government is able to collect. That is going to be a tough one. As we stand today, no constituency has received the amount of money it should have received for CDF. No county has received the amount of money it should have received for CDF. Not for CDF, but for the county allocation.
Yes.
It's because there's something about a cash crunch. So reduce that, close that tap a little bit, and you affect operations of government.
You do.
On the one hand.
You do.
On the other hand, say now we come back with those measures that were there last year. The money for the elderly, money for Kazi Mtaani. The reason why people are asking for Kazi Mtaani and it has not been brought back, there must be a reason.
But we were told how much money there was. We were told when it would end. We were told all that. We knew.
It was not extended, despite very many pleas.
Calls for it, yes.
For it to be extended. Because, again, looking at another 10 billion shillings that we're going to put aside for this, where are we going to get it from? Now, if you come up with those measures again today, what are you going to do to the government? You may actually, grind the government to a halt.
That is why, now, what I'm about to say, I'm now not being facetious. A plan. Not a plan that is similar to the one we had before. A plan. All right?
Of any nature.
A plan. This is what we want to do. A plan. The reason why this debate is gaining momentum is because we are talking in a vacuum. One isn't certain. What we have is uncertainty piled upon more uncertainty. What is the plan? Yes, lockdown. We've had a lockdown before. We know what it means. We are very clear about what it means. What is the plan? That is really it. What is the plan? And in that department, I do not doubt that number crunchers and those who understand these things far better than we do are at work. Issue a statement and said, we are working it out and we will get back to you. Okay?
We'll come up with something.
We are coming up with something. We are not silent for nothing. We are working it out. This thing has not surprised us, but it is alarming and we need to do something. We are planning. We will be telling you in a week's time, in 2 weeks' time, we will be telling you what it is that we have planned and what we have in store. The silence, man, it creates anxiety, it creates myths, it ferments a sort of problems one doesn't need.
I don't think the government has the money to be able to set up safety nets for Kenyans. I don't think they have it. I choose to believe that if there was some wiggle room, there were a few coins here and there, that this announcement would have come along with an option. Just the same way that it did in April when we heard the first one. When there was that locking down of initial counties, cessation of movement, this, that, the other thing. And then on the back end of that speech from the president was then, fellow Kenyans, in accordance with this order, what I am saying is that 1, 2, 3 things be done. So it's not as if government is not aware of what is needed when it comes to protections for its people. I don't think they have the money. Honestly speaking, because I cannot understand, and my mind has refused to wrap itself around the idea that you would have an option to which people could be protected with, and then you choose not to exercise
Which government are we talking about?
And then you know for a fact. I mean, these people these things that people are saying, they're not whispering them somewhere in the corners of their homes. It's being said in public. It's out there. So even if you didn't know, let's assume that you were not aware. Oh, people are going to lose their jobs and then they don't have what to eat. Let's assume you did not know. Okay, they've told you. They're saying it. If you had a way that you could protect the very people that you govern, that's why you're in government in the first place, I don't understand why you wouldn't do it. So for me, they don't have the wherewithal. It is not there. And I think it's pointing to an even greater problem in this country. The funds are not available. If you've not given money to your accountants, the governor of Laikipia was with us the other day and they told us that they received money last month. Okay, this month, March, they received money for October, November. They've not even started to talk or imagine what's going to happen for December, January, February. That's county allocation. CDF is a dream. It has not happened.
Can I ask you a question?
Is it that the money is sitting somewhere and they say, okay, let's give it the way you give antibiotics, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening? It is not there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The 2 billion that we hemorrhage, we lose daily. Did it reduce?
It's gone now.
No.
It's gone.
You
think it's lost and it's being put somewhere?
It wasn't historical.
It's happening even today.
It isn't historical. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
There'll be 2 billion gone today.
Yes, you can't lose something you don't have. We talk about government seriousness? Right. What has the government done to stem this hemorrhaging? Because it seems to continue to me, as far as I'm concerned.
As in, it's just a story right now. 2 billion is lost, but it's a story. 2 billion is lost.
Daily.
Just understand that 24 hours will lapse, another 2 billion will be lost. It's just a story that you're told. That's what I'm telling you they don't have. So you see, I'm not just saying, City, hear me. I'm not just saying that government doesn't have money. I'm saying government doesn't have money, and coupled with that, government is not willing to do what it takes to get what it needs to protect its people. That's what I'm saying.
Kuna pesa ya wazee.
You tell me there's 2 billion. You tell me there's 2 billion that's being lost every day. That means it's there. Yes? But you're not willing to do what you need to do to get hold of that 2 billion that you could essentially put out in different pockets and save your people. So you don't have.
I took the position that the government had money a while back. Then I relented. I even said it on air that I believe the government doesn't have money. I'm backsliding.
You think the government has money?
The government has money.
They don't have.
My friend, let me ask you a very simple question.
City, they don't have money.
No, they do. Have you seen government or have you observed government institutions cancelling every activity that they have except for the very basic, like just going to work? Have you seen them actually reducing the workforce by a third, as in, all right, folks, this is what we're going to do. Only 30% of you will be going to work and doing A, B, C, D. Have you seen cost-cutting measures across the board in areas where the government spends just recurrent expenses? Have you seen it? I've heard talk about it. I've heard discussions about it. Have you witnessed it? And if we have, what has been the outcome? What have we seen?
The number of people in government who, for example, travel out of the country, if you compare 2020, 2021 with 2018, 2019, you will see a drastic drop.
It's only these fellows who decided that they want to go to Dubai the other day.
So a couple of 17 MPs have gone to Dubai. That's compared to the number of MPs who normally would go out of this country in a quarter. Dropped.
You see, part of the drop didn't have to do with us not having money. It had to do with countries allowing you to come to their country when you are next to a country that they said was actually fermenting and manufacturing COVID. Okay? It wasn't just a simple matter of we've cut our costs.
Ukuri Atani will tell you there was also a directive from the National Treasury. Let's cut back on this. Let's cut back on travel expenses. Let's cut back on meeting expenses. Let's cut.
Eric,
he will tell you the CS for the National Treasury. And he has told us on this show before.
Do you know why I brought the issue of travel? Because it is visible and it's something that normally hits the headlines. But the monies that we're talking about are paltry. Even this issue of paying our civil servants and what have you, those are tiny, puny sums. That's not what I'm talking about. I am simply saying that what loses us money, the business as usual that loses us money, has not ceased.
It has not ceased.
That's
it's still
what
there.
I am actually getting to.
It's still there.
I was being allegorical in a sense. It's there. You think just because Kenyans are suffering and we have COVID, people who normally steal said, folks, we are, as Christians, we are heading towards Easter.
Yeah,
all right?
yeah.
Sunday yesterday was Passover.
Palm Sunday.
I call it Passover.
You called it Passover.
My goodness.
But okay.
Passover.
Don't
Passover.
worry.
Passover, Palm Sunday.
Got it.
No, Palm Sunday. What should we do to adhere to these norms, since we are believers in opportunity, and we are also believers in ensuring that food that is set before us is gobbled up as quickly as possible? You think that people who go about the business of ensuring that this country is robbed to its very bare bones, you think they reduce the activities simply because we have COVID and simply because we are saying all these things?
Do you think now, Do you think, CT, as you look at this thing and saying that, because clearly what you're saying is that we need to deal with this monster that's corruption, because if you didn't have corruption, then you have all this extra revenue float that you could then mop up and use in situations such as this, right? Because 2 billion shillings a day, I'm just trying to do the math in terms of 2 billion shillings a day and what it would be able to do for people today who don't have jobs, or how you'd be able to buffer industry so that you tell people, for example, like what happened in the UK, where they say, all right, we don't want you to go out and eat. What we're going to do is put some money into this service industry, and then we're going to support you. For every £15 that you spend on a takeout, we're going to give this industry an extra £15. You would be able to do things like that, right? So you're saying essentially, stop this hemorrhage that's happening because of corruption. If you dealt with that business that's essentially robbing government of funds that they could actually have to take care of its people, then we will not be having the problems that we are having. But today, right now, it's not corruption that's going to end today that's going to give people some kind of buffering. These 1.3 million people who've lost their jobs as a result of this announcement on Friday, today is not going to help them.
It is allowing this snake to meander and rule and walk about that enables it to have more heads and becomes a hydra. What do you mean we can't end it today? Of course we can. If we can steal it, we can stop it from being stolen. Surely. Does that not make sense?
Yeah, it does, just, on the surface of it.
No, it's not the surface.
The other side is, so how exactly is this money
are we going
going?
to do it today?
Look.
When somebody is going home today, and
how can you
you stop it from bleeding
the
dry?
ingenious ways that the money is going. Let's take a break. 25 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on SpiceFM, on KTN Home and online. Once we come out of this break, we'll ask you to call in and also share your thoughts with us. Is it realistic to expect the government to issue some safety nets, some social protection to its citizens in this second lockdown? Is it really realistic to expect the government to come up with any kind of safety net measures in this time of the lockdown? Good morning, 26+7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a melee. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Wasingishi was asking me, what channel is Spice FM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, so we're still looking at partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We're going to go to highs of 28 today, currently at 16. Light rain now in Nyeri at 17, highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's mostly cloudy in Nakuru at 19, highs of 26. And we're looking at highs of 26 in Eldoret. It's mostly cloudy now at 21. 21 is also what it is in Kisumu, mostly cloudy, going to highs of 30. 30 will also be the high recorded in Kakamega today. It's mostly cloudy at 21. Mostly sunny conditions at 27 in Mombasa, highs of 33. 33 will also be the high in Malindi, where it's mostly mostly sunny at 27. 19 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 18. 33 the high in Dar es Salaam, mostly sunny at 26. 12 in Johannesburg, it's mostly cloudy, going to highs of 21 today. Highs of 33 in Lagos, hazy morning at 26, and it's cloudy in Kinshasa at 23. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
All right, we still see some on Mombasa Road this morning, in and outbound. It's going to take a while to get out of this, but it's not bumper to bumper. It's slow, but it seems to be all right for the first time in a long time. It's looking good on Thika Road, in and out, not a problem at all. The situation on Kingara Road this morning is worsening, and it's spilling over to Ngong Road. There's a truck that has stalled, so it's blocking traffic in both directions, and it's piled up all the way to James Gishuru and also on Ngong Road this morning, guys. So if you're headed in that direction, just know that it's going to take a while to get out of this one. The eastern, southern, Red Hill, northern bypasses looking good. We don't have problems this Monday morning, it would seem. 23 minutes from Roasters to the CBD. My goodness, it's like people have actually left the country and gone home.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
All right,
Nairobi.
7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. We're broadcasting on Spice FM, KTN Home, and we're online. We'd like to hear from you this morning. Is it realistic to expect the government to roll out some safety nets, some social protection measures during this lockdown? So you're saying that there's no traffic?
Mm-mm.
The country has been disbanded.
Everybody has gone home.
Everybody has
Literally.
gone home.
No, Mombasa Road still has some traffic, but the traffic has to do with the tightening and narrowing
With
of roads.
this guy who's doing the roads.
It's more that the vehicles cannot move at the pace that they would ordinarily move.
But we have fewer vehicles on the road.
Infinitely
For sure.
fewer.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there are times this road cars are at a standstill. So you know very well there's a jam. But if they're moving slowly, here's the bottleneck that has been caused by the activities of building this particular bridge.
All right. So let's go to the phone lines. 0719-012-600. Muigai in Kahasukari. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Happy to hear you guys, and hope you remain safe.
We hope the same for you too as well.
Okay, I wanted to contribute to the debate today because, yes, it's an expectation that the government should chip in and support people in distress, and especially around this time. And I think it's not just the government, because, government sometimes needs to play the role of coordination. I remember last time they called other stakeholders, whether it's Skepticism, the banks and others, to ask them what they can do, for people in distress around this time. So I think apart from them not having money, there's a call of duty that they have that they need to activate and put it together.
Okay.
But having said that, I also want to bust a myth that City was alluding to around the 2 billion. Because today 2 billion is around 760 billion every year. And that is not pocket change.
It's not.
In an economy. So I really doubt that, that number came from anywhere. And considering that, we are at...
so you think the President of the Republic of Kenya just threw in a number there just to fill a gap?
I would be, I want to be convinced on that number, because why not 3 billion? Why not 1 billion? And if it was evaluated that way, what was the basis of that evaluation? If you look at our economy today, we are at a 3 trillion, budget, physical budget.
Yes.
around the 900, 950 is, recurrent on, government wages and other things.
Yes.
Well, a similar figure is, the national debt.
Yes.
So if you look at those figures are material. So even if, and KRA who are struggling, even to collect their target of 1.6, which they are unable to meet.
Yeah.
And the reason why, all these cash constraints we are getting in disbursement of funds, I would doubt that, we would not focus on 760 billion if it was actually there. Number two, you remember a few years ago when there were rumors that, there was money from the Gulf of Aden and other places that was coming here. You could see a lot of activity that was, attributed to.
Yes.
Today, if that money was in this economy, whether rightly, picked or not. So I really doubt that, that we are losing all that money. The fact is that we don't have money. And today, as we talk about the jam, when you say there is no jam, I mean, it shows the activity levels in the economy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Things have slowed down.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Muigai.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Let's hear from Karanja. Karanja, good morning.
How are you, sir?
Salama kabisa. How is Naivasha?
Naivasha is fine. We had rain yesterday.
Oh, that was
And
not just rain.
everything was
Bana.
fine.
That was heavy rain.
Heavy rain, sure.
Hailstones.
Hailstorm. In fact, yesterday it was like we were in town in Greece. Yeah. So,
Yes.
coming to the point is that there is what we call the proportional representation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let us take, for instance, in 1997, during the Moi regime, KANU garnered 100 seats, and they had 1 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
The opposition by then had 88 seats, and they had 300 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
300 million plus votes, yeah?
300 million in
So-
this country.
Did you say 300,000 or 300 million?
300. It was 3 million votes.
Okay.
Very good for the certification. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Now, I think in Kenya that we are in today, there are scenarios that the majority that represent the majority that gives the president that represent the people, and we have the minority that represent the rest of people, or the more votes that we have. Now, I see that the money that we are getting, that money is inflated in a sense that some of the people right now, they are not getting, the elderly people, they are not getting the money right now. And it is very much worsening to see that there was a time that I was in a chief's camps where people used to get money sometimes back.
Yeah.
Before the money was rolled for the women to go, maybe to have those elderly people to have money through the bank, through the M-Pesa or through anything. And you could be surprised, my friend, the person that is getting money is not even
The person who
70+.
qualifies.
Yes, it does not qualify for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what it means now for the government, in fact, the figures that you are talking about is inflated, given the fact that the government that we usually to know right now is a government that is full of corruption.
So, Karanja, if I was to ask you just directly, is it realistic to expect the government to be able to roll out some safety net, some social protection program at this time?
It is not possible, my friend, because we understand the government that we have right now in the, but if it could have been the government of Kibaki, it can be rolled out.
But now
because
they
I know
can't.
Kibaki was tough. Yes, Kibaki was an economist that he knew how things were being to be done.
Okay. Well,
Right
thank
now, if you come to, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karanja, and thank you for your contribution.
Thank you, Eric. Have a lovely day.
Have a lovely one as well. Yes. Is it realistic to expect the government to be able to roll out some safety nets, some social protection measures at this time with this lockdown? Shiraga Moi says, if they're not giving us Kenyans a safety net economically, let the president drop the containment measures. Even hapa kwa ground, we don't fear COVID because anyway, what do we have to live for?
Wow.
Shirage, are you serious? Hey.
I think that is a statement of truth.
Mm.
Because what the government does is what provides the citizens with hope. But if there's no plan which is being talked about or spoken of, all these things notwithstanding, then what Sharage is actually displaying is what you call a loss of hope.
It's loss of hope.
Yes, and with good reason. Look, juxtapose this for a second. If the government, by whatever means, had no means of collecting any revenue whatsoever, what would happen exactly? Tell me.
Shut down.
Precisely.
Shut down, absolutely.
Precisely. They would shut down. Now, this is what is happening to people who don't have the means. They are shutting down. So this hope that you're talking about, it's a reality. The absence of it is the reality for these people. Because, okay, shut down, lockdown, no job. Okay, what do you do next? Many of these people have no clue what to do next because there is nothing else that they can do next.
One thing that has come out to me very clearly, though, is that government also expects Kenyans to do what they have always done. And I think it's actually a beautiful...
Which is what?
Vumilia is a beautiful word in Swahili that is used to cover up very many cases and situations. Get through this one. Just get through this one because it will be better tomorrow. Yeah. We heard the government spokesman say the same thing on Saturday. We heard President Uhuru Kenyatta say it when he finished with his speech, that, you know what, at the end of the day, let's all come together because what we are trying to do is stop this virus from spreading. There is that internal bug, I think, that is switched on every time something like this happens, that government thinks that Kenyans will do one of the things that they do very best, which is to actually somehow find a way to
do
get
the best
through
you can
in a
adjust,
situation,
survive,
adjust to the situation,
survive,
whereby it shouldn't
introduce
be that
new
way.
coping mechanisms.
Yep. Let's go back to the phone lines. Kasaine in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, I'm listening to your conversation and I'm honestly lost. I'm a Kenyan, born Kenyan, and I'm sure I'm going to die Kenyan. I'm lost because in March last year, the same drill happened by the same government. We locked down, hoping everybody is just going to sit down and crawl under your sheets and die of hunger instead. My question is this. Would I rather die on my knees crawling because of a virus that is spreading and my children dying of hunger? Or would I rather not die looking for food for them? I mean, it's be realistic. It's not about this. The virus is there. It's going to be to stay with us forever, for all I care. HIV came, Ebola came. We cannot cringe down and hide because the virus is there. I'd rather die looking for that food or trying to look for a solution. Because if I die of hunger, it's even worse looking at my children dying of hunger.
I guess you could argue the same. Can you imagine, Kasaine, if you contracted the virus, you came home and infected your entire family, and then it hit you severely. All of you developed severe symptoms of COVID-19.
Correct.
All of you require hospitalization at the same time in the stretched facilities that we have in the country. What would you then sit back and say and tell your children and your wife?
At least I did my best. I did not die of hunger. I tried. We died standing up, not kneeling down. We'd rather die looking for it. I can't die of hunger. I would rather go out there with their lockdowns and built-up of lockdowns, really. I would rather look for food out there. I would rather struggle out there. With a government that steals the money from the same people who they are trying to protect, really, why would I trust them? They are telling us, you lock down, you guys stay at home. The guy who is actually saying that doesn't even put on a mask. The guy looks and starts scrambling, where is my mask? Really? This is irony of the...
Because I know we hear you. We hear the frustration in your voice. Asante sana. 0719-012-600. Is it realistic to expect the government to actually come in and support the vulnerable citizens in this lockdown? Now, the vulnerable increase because you're talking about people who have lost jobs since Friday. People who have been told, all right, now you've heard what the government has basically announced. We are not going to be able to support you this time. So go back home. Stay at home. So what happens? How is the government then able to support them? Last year, there was a rolling out of all these safety net measures. The tax cuts, there was the programs that were rolled out for the government, for the elderly, for the youth. the stimulus packages that were going to impact various sectors. The hospitality sector had a stimulus package. The finance sector was required to work with the people so that those who have loans or would be able to survive. Would it be realistic to expect the same thing to be brought back now?
No, Eric. What is the plan? I'm just going back to what I've said. What is the plan? In the absence of a plan, what you're doing, forget dampening hopes, you're killing it. When people are hopeful, or when you give them reason to hope, then whatever else you want to kick in, people anticipating, working with what they have comes into play. If there's no plan, people become desolate. They don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
No. One of the things the government must do is it must give us a sense of direction. Okay, you've told us, we've got it. Direction. Because it's actually in your hands, in all honesty.
Yeah.
It is in your hands. Next.
As a leader.
Yes. What are we doing next?
Let's hear from Eric in Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Good morning.
Very well.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It has. We're glad to hear from you.
Thank you, thank you.
Is it realistic, Eric, to expect the government to come and saidia wananchi?
Latif, it's more or less like asking a dog to deliver chicken, if I may say. Because honestly speaking, this government, for the past 1 year, we've not seen anything from it, if I may say so. And it's actually lying to ourselves if we are to, sit back and wait for the government to give us a proper directive with regards to anything relating to COVID, let alone even survival for this country. The same government is led by politicians who actually even made the situation worse. And they are doing so knowing very well that the populace that they are representing are not in the position to actually even fend for themselves during that same time. So, I mean, honestly speaking, ni kila mtu agitete. We are on our own. Kenyans need to understand that at this point in time, we are on our own. If you are going to sit back and wait for them to, bring you solutions, that's up to you. And mark you, during the pandemic period, from March of last year, there are three types of people. There are those who sat back, waiting for relief to come. It has not come up to now, so they're still waiting. There are those who decided to go out and tried making something work, and it didn't work. But there are some who actually did do anything, and because they're in that good position, wamejipata wako na mamilioni hapo, these guys are feeling good.
Those ones are
and
good.
Now that the pandemic, with these new restrictions, them and their cronies are still making some good money. Honestly speaking, let's not lie to ourselves, Kana.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Let's stay in Mombasa and hear from John Jeroge. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you today?
Good morning, John.
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, Ndo.
Yes, sir.
CT.
Good morning, sir.
John, your line is not clear. I don't know whether you've put us
And
on
now, can you hear
speakerphone
me?
or using... yes, that's better.
Now, that's better?
Yes,
Yes,
that's
it
better.
is.
Okay, my point is this. I listened to a lady in Florida, I think she's the governor, and she said, when the lockdown was down there, people suffered a lot mentally. And mental illnesses kills more than COVID itself. If we come back here to Kenya, we know people live from hand to mouth. We know people struggle. And a government that really, really cares about its citizens, it should keep into mind that if I lock this country down, people will suffer. And now we have people who are suffering more mentally here because they can't even be able to fend for their family. Last time I had a case whereby a woman was told by the husband, because they live in a single room, 3 kids, and the husband just woke up in the morning and he didn't have money to go and buy milk.
Yeah.
And because he had issues, he told the wife, who is this child? Don't resemble me. And that was an issue. Because already this guy now can see he can fend for the family, now he has started to have these issues domestically.
Yeah.
And this is what will happen to Kenyans. I think government should have looked at another way of trying to cater for the needs for these people and at the same time look at the way we can keep the disease at bay.
Okay.
Locking people will only amount to more issues and mental issues and more trouble.
Thank you,
So
John.
for me, it's a no.
Thank you, John. Onyango in Nairobi, good morning.
Yes, good morning, City.
This is Eric. City says hi.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, this is you're talking to the other CT whose name is actually Eric.
Okay. And good morning. I'm happy to join you guys this morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Paul from Nairobi, Bangani.
Yes, Paul.
Asante.
Now, I'm trying to imagine something in our country right now. I have some friends who are working at a restaurant now, but they have closed down those restaurants. How will this guy survive? They have not given out the way forward. Nairobi imefungiwa, huyu jamaa hizi enda nyumbani, enda lime.
What way forward would you have liked this person, this friend of yours, to be given by the government?
Like kazi mtaani, you can come back. It can come back again. We give some 500 shillings per day. Someone can survive. That's a way forward. You get what I'm saying?
Yep, we get what you're saying.
Yes, so let our government think.
Thank you,
Let
Paul.
them try to do something. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Kisumu. And Michael is in Kisumu this morning. Good morning.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, Michael.
Say hi to CT.
Good morning, Mike. How are you today?
I'm doing well, my brother.
Thank you.
So, Eric.
Yes.
You've left out our sister.
Oh, I didn't know she's in.
I don't understand.
Surely.
How are you, Michael?
I've gotten in late, so I didn't hear your voice.
Okay. Karibu sana.
Asante. So, Eric.
Yes.
I've grown up in Kenya realizing one thing. The government of Kenya is a government on its own, and the people are on their own.
Those are two separate entities, eh?
When they get this state, they look at themselves, they forget the people who voted them in this state. And that is why you see, we always have the government side and the opposition side, but when it comes to increasing the salary of MPs and everybody, they are in one voice.
Yep.
When it comes to passing the gender bills and other bills that maybe may benefit Kenyans, they really differ on opinion. And so when it comes to coronavirus, just as one of the callers said, these measures that now the president is putting in place, we put them in place last year, the same month last year.
Yeah.
And now when you want to lock people down, and we know that most of us live hand to mouth. Like, I don't know, the previous caller, I think the second last before I called. What he's saying just makes sense, Eric. You'd rather die like a soldier fighting than sleeping down, than kneeling down. Because the government, like right now, when you talk about the
So, am I hearing you, Michael, saying that, you see, the reason behind and the reason that has been advanced by government, by the healthcare professionals on this lockdown is let us reduce the interactions of people so that we reduce the spread of the virus. So we sort of flatten the curve. We do not overwhelm our already stretched healthcare system. Are you saying that that was a wrong move?
It is the right move, but with improper planning.
Okay.
Eric, we had this similar thing that was going on last time.
Yes.
Call Kenyans, ask how many Kenyans received that stimulus. You'll get a very poor number, which means this money is used.
Yeah.
In the audit report, it come out as the money that Kenyans received.
Yep.
But you cannot account for the Kenyans that received the money.
Scandal.
Like now we've stopped about talking about the story of Camry, how that money got lost. Now that story is out of in the wind. Kemsa, I'm sorry. It's out in the wind. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if it's investigation is still going on. We don't know how it ended. And it will go and lost like that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much. We hear you. Let's hear from Edward in Kisumu as well. Good morning.
All right, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm well. Just listening to your conversation, and it's interesting. First, the lockdown, I would agree with it to some extent because there's an issue that has to be managed, and COVID is real. I think it's now knocking very close to each and every person's home.
Yeah.
So it's something that has to be looked into. But again, the government cannot be having variant lenses to issues. It was just the other day, campaigns were just running all over. That was basically spreading COVID. So like COVID was on leave or something. Now it's when they after they finished their campaigns and everything else. Now it's a big issue.
Yeah.
So I think I'd support the lockdown, but again, the government should come in to support the common man in terms of the basic needs. This is when you should be hearing subsidies around food and stuff like that. Because yes, I want you to be at home, but I'm supporting you to meet your basic needs. The tax burdens, I think there's something that can be reviewed around it, just to enable guys to be comfortable through these moments. We need to come in together at this particular time, just to ensure that we're doing whatever the best that we can do. Just to ensure that your neighbor, it's supposed to be a personal decision to ground level. But when you tell me that you're having a lockdown, but you've not given me alternative, or now I'm going to actually meet my needs, I think it's going to be mayhem. We are human beings. We're going to devise.
It's going to bring in chaos.
Yes, chaos, exactly. So it is something that has to be critically looked into. And I think it is about time that they need to engage also other stakeholders. Like, we are not perfect. This thing nobody planned for it. So we need to be very wise on how we implement this decision, or else, there's a suma to a particular limit, but now I might want to flex.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Thank you very much, Edward.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And we want to take this moment to bring in some breaking news. Mama Sarah Obama, the grandmother of former U.S. President Barack Obama, has passed away. The family has confirmed this news this morning. That is Mama Sarah Obama of... Is that place Kogelo or Kogalo?
Kogelo.
Kogalo is Gor Mahia.
That is absolutely correct.
Right. So at this particular moment, so Mama Sarah Obama has passed away. The family has confirmed. She's the grandmother to the late former president of the United States, Barack Obama. Time for us to take a break on KTN Home on SpiceFM. And as we go on to this break, I'd like to let you know about this new feature by the Standard Group. Jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. That's jobs.standardmedia.co.ke, where you can get all the jobs, listings of jobs. Shortly, you'll be receiving career advice if you go to this platform. You'll also be receiving personalized email newsletters and SMS alerts on jobs. If you're looking for a job, there are several jobs that have been listed on this particular website, jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Just telling you some of the jobs that are there. The Kenyatta National Hospital is looking for a human resource officer. There's a World Panel Division that's looking for a research associate. The record management officer at the National Biosafety Authority. A sales manager at Jumia Kenya is looking for a sales manager. All these and more are jobs that have been advertised on the jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. ICT, Architecture, Data and Governance Manager. That's the National Bank of Kenya. Permanent job. 1 day to apply for this position. Field and Community Technologies, Impact Evaluation by the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI. 1 day to apply for this. So if you're looking for a job and you feel like you qualify for any of these, please go to jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly. The conversation continues.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
2.5 to
right.
the top of the hour. So really, is it really realistic to expect the government to roll out some more stimulus at this particular point in time? I think I'm hearing what the government spokesman was saying. You know what? We are where we are. We all know how the government is doing. The government collects money from taxpayers.
Mhm.
Taxpayers have not been able to have an income in the last 1 year. So the government is also strained in terms of how much money it's collecting. So saying that the government is going to be able to now roll out all these safety nets, it's not going to be 100% possible.
Working for the government isn't voluntary. People look for those jobs and their expectations that arise from having those jobs. Most of the people who work in government do their jobs diligently and they do an excellent job of it. Many politicians whom we have actually represent their citizens very, very well. However, it doesn't stop us from hemorrhaging financially. So this is my plea. Those who rob us, we actually allow you to rob us.
Can you imagine?
We allow you because we pay our taxes, so there's something for you to steal. So if we actually ask right now for you to actually stop, I asked this last week and I'm asking it again, stop, for heaven's sake.
Please.
We cannot afford to have you stealing money. There are times when it appeared like we could. We actually couldn't, but it appeared. Now it's an absolute no. We cannot afford it.
Yes.
We can't. Now this country that you're living in is what has made it possible for you to have these things, for heaven's sake. Is it too much to ask?
Please.
Please, as in please now. Just leave a little.
Please.
No, don't stop stealing.
For now, take a break.
Sheesh.
Stop. For heaven's sake.
Go on lockdown.
Yes, like everybody else.
Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep it right here. This conversation continues into the next hour. We look at the impact of President Uhuru Kenyatta's announcement on Friday. What has happened over the weekend? What's going to happen in the coming days across the country? Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. We are always happy to have you on board on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, on radio and on TV. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM.
Outbound on Mombasa this morning, there's still some traffic as you're trying to get towards the city centre. Just looking at Nyayo Stadium at the roundabout as you're trying to get on Huru Highway out into the CBD through to Westlands. It's actually quite slow. Inbound, however, it's not too bad, even though we have that issue right around the Likoni interchange and then going towards the southern bypass and then on towards Mombasa Road. Not too bad. It's just a small hold up there. Thika Road, it's the driver's dream this morning, not held up in any way, shape or form. Getting into the CBD and interestingly out, not too much of an issue. Folks are staying down, it would appear. So we don't have much with traffic. That situation on Gong Road and also James Gishuru is still developing. Truck is yet to be moved. Traffic spilled over to both sides of the road. Hopefully that will be sorted out and folks can move. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Let us also know what's going on in your neck of the woods. SpiceFM KE. That's on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
2.5 minutes
The only way
after
to start
8
your
o'clock.
day.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Is the Situation Room on Spice FM, online on KTN Home. As we begin the hour, C.T. Muga, remind us today's proverb.
Supposing doesn't fill the grain basket, if doesn't fill the ladder.
Supposing doesn't fill the grain basket.
If doesn't fill the ladder.
If doesn't fill the ladder.
So we can't say, suppose there was no corruption in this country, and if the money then had not been pilfered from public coffers, then maybe we would have something that we could use as a safety net for protections for the citizens come COVID.
You can say it.
It's
But
possible
we
to
can't,
be supposing
we can't
everything.
suppose an iffy.
It's possible to be supposing everything that you want
Yes,
to talk
but
about.
it's not going to get the job done, is it?
No,
So
it
I'm
isn't.
following. I'm gleaning lessons from the proverb.
It isn't.
And I'm gleaning with you.
So on Friday afternoon, the president from the steps of State House, Nairobi, flanked by some senior cabinet secretaries, leader of the National Assembly, some leaders from the Council of Governors, addressed the nation. And he said a number of things from fellow Kenyans, this and the other. So fellow Kenyans, to avert a national health crisis, and upon the advice of the National Security Council, the Council of Governors, and also in keeping with the recommendations of the National Emergency Response Committee on COVID-19, I hereby issue Public Order Number 2 of 2021 on the coronavirus pandemic as follows. That's what he said. All right. So Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, Nakuru have been declared a disease-infected area. So, because of this, there shall be cessation of all movement by road, rail, or air into and out of this disease-infected area, which is now called a one-zoned area comprising of those counties, Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, Nakuru. All public gatherings and in-person meetings shall be suspended. All in-person gatherings shall be suspended. All those measures that were announced by the president, which even went into the saying that the curfew has also now been moved to 8 p.m. and end at 4 a.m. in the zoned area. And flights are supposed to stop that midnight on Friday, and the SGR was to stop operating from Saturday. What happened? Chaos unfolded. There's a photo on page 2 of The Nation today, which is a stranded Trufena Kaveza, who's carrying one of her children on her back, and she carries a load on her head at the North Rift Shuttle booking office in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, as she looks for means to travel to Nairobi yesterday. Private vehicles were charging between 3,500 and 4,000 shillings from Eldoret to Nairobi.
Whoa!
As travelers were rushing to beat an 8 p.m. deadline ahead of the implementation of a cessation of movement order imposed in Nakuru, Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado, Machakos. This is yesterday. Eldoret, 4,000. We saw elsewhere. Embu, same, 2,500. Because of this crunch of people trying to get out. On Friday itself, soon after the president made this announcement, there was some pandemonium at the airports. What was happening is people who are there trying to travel out of the country, out of JKIA into other parts of the country, knowing that now the flights are not going to be available from the following morning, were trying to cancel their flights. Others were trying to get to the airport to look for a flight out to go back to Mombasa, to Kisumu, to Eldoret, in other parts. There was chaos. There was chaos that required some bit of clarification. So the first clarification we are seeing is from senior officers in State House, including Zioka Waita, who is clarifying, okay, wait. First, it means that these 5 counties have all been clustered into a one zone, which means that it is only movement into and out of this one zone that is prohibited, but you can come from Kiambu and go all the way to Kajiado. There's no problem. The only thing you cannot do is you cannot come out of Kiambu and go to the neighboring Murang'a, or Kiambu and go to the neighboring Nyandarua County. But you can go from Nakuru and find your way into Nairobi and find your way into Machakos or Kajiado. That was the clarification number 1. Still more issues. So are flights going to be allowed to? Clarification again coming in from the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Okay, this order has been extended until Monday, midday, when local flights will cease operating. More clarification coming from KEPSA. Okay, it means, yes, this is the same. Trains are going to be operating. The SGR is still going to be operating until Monday. And when I look at all these things, I sat back and I asked myself, what is happening here? The president clearly said that there was a meeting of the National Security Council The Council of Governors was also involved in this conversation. The National Emergency Response Committee on COVID-19, that's chaired by CS for Health, Mutahi Kagwe, was also involved in this conversation. They came to the president with a recommendation. Shut down these areas. Impose these measures. Let them start at this point. But by the time the president's directive is now being interpreted by others, being clarified by others, it shows something is amiss. And I think that what we're witnessing here is not about Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, or the Jubilee administration. It is about a systemic failure in our government, in our public service. There is a serious issue in our public service. It doesn't matter whether it's the president who is Uhuru. It doesn't matter whether the president will be Raila or Ruto or Musalia Mudavadi or Kalonzo Musyoka or Alfred Mutua. Who else wants to become president? Wetangula. Who else? Kalonzo Musyoka. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Who it is. Who would have been the president on Friday? The problem is in the machine. This machine has broken down. If a National Security Council, the body that is mandated to make sure that it ensures our safety and our security, can sit and go and tell the president, from tomorrow, say no more SGR. At the same time, go and say schools should close immediately, colleges, universities. At the same time, it does not consider that 1 million students are about to sit for KCSE exams, and they will need to go home.
After 3 weeks.
After 3 weeks. It has not considered that. It has not considered that there are people who are, it's a weekend, they are traveling, they have plans to travel, and they want to come back. It hasn't considered, and also it says, this National Security Council, it goes and advises the president, revoke all the passes that have been issued.
Because
people were flouting them. Issued by us. People were flouting them. So immediately what you've said is all the trucks that were carrying boga from Nyandarua to Nairobi, bringing cabbage, sukuma wiki, all the trucks that were bringing onions from Baringo, all the trucks that were bringing other fruits from Murang'a and elsewhere coming towards Marikiti in Nairobi overnight, by midnight there was a roadblock that told them, you're not going anywhere. It had not considered that. So is it a failure of the presidency? I think not. It's a failure in our public service. Something is wrong in government structure.
Is it possible that they would have come up with this order without a plan in place? That you sit for whatever, how long you had that meeting. We heard sat until 3 a.m. Thursday, sat until 3 a.m. Friday morning before then it was announced to the people of the country. Is it possible that you could come up with something that had such articulate orders? I think there was a 10-point speech, right? That you came up with all of this and that there was no plan as to how you were going to operationalize it. Is it possible that you did that and said that, okay, shut down these counties, all university students to go home, take into consideration that there are people who live in Nairobi and work in other counties or vice versa, work in other counties and live in Nairobi and go home on Friday, for example, and go home daily. There are people who live in Naivasha, for example, and work in Nairobi, or work in Naivasha and come to Nairobi. Was all of that taken into consideration? Is it possible? Because it blows my mind to think that you would come up with something so intricate, but you've not thought about how it's going to actually work out. So yes, I'm with you that there is something fundamentally wrong with the machine. The machine that runs this thing, there's something wrong. Because, look, this is not the first time this thing has happened.
There's a gear that's out of step.
When the first lockdown was called a year ago, the same thing that happened Friday, Saturday happened. When they called the lockdown cessation of movement within counties, we had people in traffic until 3 a.m.
There had to be clarification.
And they had to come and tell us, actually, this is what it means. Pass this roadblock, this. By the time an announcement like this is made on a Friday, and just less than 24 hours later, you need to call upon your communication machinery to come and then explain to people what you had actually said. There's something wrong. That you make an announcement like this and then people are actually not quite sure what is going to happen. I can understand that there would be some confusion here. There would be pockets of people who are not really sure what to do.
Yeah.
But an entire country confused about what exactly is supposed to happen. And the questions that arise, okay, so can I move from here to there? So I have a ticket. What happens to me? I traveled in the morning for business. Will I not be able to come back? What does this mean? And then on the same measures that you have set in.
I've booked a train ticket son who is sitting his
His exam,
KCSE.
then he's going to come back. So then how does that happen? And then on the same order, you then come back and then you pull back some. And then you add some day.
You extend. Okay, so it's not 24 hours. Let's push it until Monday.
Let's do some 72 hours.
I actually think it's deliberate.
Why?
What on
earth? Deliberate what? Failure?
No. Yes, this communication and the hodgepodge manner in which he seems to come out.
This bungled nonsense
It's not bungled. It's not bungled.
Why would you do that to an entire nation? Did you see the pictures that we were seeing?
It's not bungled.
To what end, City?
So that what can happen?
You see, this is the perspective I am taking. Yeah? If this was the first time it was happening and COVID had overwhelmed us and we didn't know what to do, then I would say, okay, this machinery wasn't well oiled, and now it is clear that it wasn't well oiled, and we can see the lack of oiling manifesting itself. We've had this situation before. This isn't the only crisis this country has had. And if we are more or less seeing a replication of what had happened before, yes, indeed, there is something wrong with the system, but I am saying it is deliberate. This faulty system, I am saying it is purposely faulty.
So that what? Please help me here. So that
who benefits?
So that who comes out smelling like a rose, or who comes out looking as though
it's not smelling like a rose.
What? For
what? When confusion is something that is manufactured so that people can focus their attention on other things other than on what is real. And it also allows you to now set in place the things you want to set in place because you've diverted the attention elsewhere. This mayhem, this one that we saw here, it isn't by accident. It isn't as though some people didn't know what to do. Remember, the numbers did not suddenly occur. These percentages we're talking about, they didn't happen the Thursday before the Friday. No.
It was building up.
We were seeing these things and you could tell exactly what is going on.
Camry had already said this.
These predictions,
in December.
These predictions were made a long time ago. And these predictions, believe me, from an epidemiological perspective, there are people who actually crank the figures and can tell you, given this trend, this is where we're going to head. They can tell you. It's not difficult to tell.
But they did tell us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it was known. So come Friday, suddenly it's being announced. It means discussions had taken place long before that Friday.
Yeah.
And all these people were talking about, and some who haven't been mentioned were consulted and they talked about. Why am I saying it's contrived? So after all those discussions, because I know it wasn't one discussion, this is what they come up with. If you are in that committee of people who gave advice on the epidemiological advice, like Professor Omwanzala, after saying your bit, you don't control what those people say. If I am in the committee that deals with security matters, I give my advice. That is all I've done. If I am in the Council of Governors and the body, the caucus that gives the advice, you say what you do. Then there are these people who cobble these things together. There's Ministry of Health. They cobble these things together and present and say, this is what we are going to tell our people. It doesn't create itself. This is what, and this is how we should craft it. Why do I say this? We've had messages that have been clearer in the past and they've gone through similar discussions, and this is what has come out. For instance, how did we determine that the Minister for Health is going to be telling us, fellow Kenyans, it was a good thing that they did. It was planned. So he would come and tell us, behave normally or abnormally, planned every day. They would talk about the numbers. It was planned. It did its thing. This, when you have this alarming rate, which didn't happen in a day, and then the communication causes this amount of confusion, it's not accidental. Somebody wanted the confusion.
Somebody wanted the confusion.
Somebody wanted that confusion.
Let's go to the phone lines and hear what the people are saying. Gideon in Laikipia, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. Now, how are you guys, CT?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. How are you? You ugly greeted me in the middle of my swallowing some water. So I had to juggle the swallowing and responding to you without spilling the water. I'm very well, thank you.
Okay. Have you heard the phrase of love your country,
Yes.
respect your president,
Yes.
and fear your government?
The fear bit is what I'm at odds with, but I've heard people say it, yes.
Yes. Sasa, okay, let me speak in Swahili.
Tafadhali.
Unaona vile umesema that thing was planned. it was 1 week. 1 week before, obviously they go for meetings. So everybody anaambiwa toa maoni yako. Once mtu ametoa maoni yake, inaandikwa chini, alafu the president is given, anaambiwa from here, sema hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi. Vile tu usiti amesema tu. Ni ukweli. Hiyo kitu yote ni ukweli tu. Si ati yote wanaamka asubuhi wanaambiana ati tuseme hivi leo.
So Gideon, then why would they come up with these measures if they have had all the time to discuss? How did they miss these glaring gaps?
In short, Eric, have you gone to some counties unakuta kuna watu wengine hata hawavangi mask?
Yeah.
Ni kweli?
Yep.
Kweli kabisa.
Sasa unasikia mtu anasema ati mimi siwezi kaa kwa nyumba niteseke na huko nje kuna watu wako na pesa nitafute chakula. Unafaa kumuuliza unavanga mask?
Okay. Thank you, Gideon.
Some counties sikudanganyi kama sahi single like pia. Ukienda hapa Sogota, hapa Mara, hata ukiona kwa TV, they don't wear masks.
Okay.
So how do you expect it at your gonjwa ikwe contained?
Thank you, Gideon. Thank you very much. Abdul in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning to you. Wacha nizungumze Kiswahili.
Tafadhali.
Nadhani shida yetu kubwa yenye tunafanya, we are trusting the wrong guys. Trust me. Tunaamini kizungu kile kingi wanaongea maelekezo mengi na kutaja nchi zingine kwa sababu they always have a case study either here in Nigeria or in South Africa or in America. I don't know why they consider other countries. They don't talk about Kajiado or nini. They consider wanaangalia vitu vingine. So in short, even the doctors, you are calling them doctors there, I have a question mark about them because I don't think they are professionals. So either the president is being fed with the wrong information or yeye mwenyewe pia yuko hapo ndani. But I'm telling you, according to the ground, huko ground venye inakaa na venye tunaambiwaga kwa TV ama venye tunaonaga kwa radio na vitu vya media ni vitu tofauti. Wao wenyewe wanajua ni vitu tofauti. Even those wanakaa hapo wanatobia. And then the funny thing ni nyinyi watu wa media, you are not asking the right, asking mnaingia uoga squeeze, you are not asking the questions zenye zinafaa. So mnakubali kitu chochote bora mtu ameongea hapo pure English, ameongea professional terminologies.
Okay,
let's ask
all right, that's understood. Now, what's the situation on the ground so we can understand?
The situation in the ground ni kwamba si kwamba labda kwamba hakuna hiyo corona venye imezidi na nini, but sababu za kuzidi ni nini? Watu walianza kuvaa mask mbeleni, watu walifanya kila kitu kuanzia uanze, watu walikaa nyumbani kuanzia saa 1 mpaka temzila ambazo zimekuwa. Sasa hii kitu ambayo imefanya paka kila siku inazidishwa na nini? Hawatuelezi hilo, utasikia tu imezidi. Watasikia tu imezidi wapi? Kwa hivyo hao timu yote, hiyo timu iko hapo hiyo. Either wana mislead president or wewe mwenyewe labda yuko ndani. But hakuna venye nakaaga vizuri. Sasa watu wanafanya nini? Watu iko kusini Nairobi nini they did not put into consideration vitu vote venye vinafaa ndio waje wafanye hivyo. Waliamka tu na kusema hivyo. So there's a problem. There's a real problem in that. Not even the ground but the reporting.
Kuna shida.
So, report.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Abdul. Let's stay in Mombasa and hear from Anthony. Hello.
Morning, station.
Good
morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you, Anthony.
I give you msemo leo kutoka kwetu nyumbani. And we say ere godua dogolia itikinyagira nyeki.
It sounds wonderful. Now interpret it for us, please.
You see like when the buffaloes go, when they are going to feed, there's the leader there, the one that leads them to greener pastures. If he limps, they will never get to the greener pastures. So the buck stops with the president. We have a person who is clueless on what is happening. It's either he's clueless or he's ignorant. One of the two.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You know, you've made a blanket statement and used some very interesting adjectives on the president. But please just consider for a single second that the president doesn't run this country on his own. Huh?
Yes, but the buck stops with him.
It should and it does, but he doesn't run the country on his own.
Let me tell you something. Let me give you an example.
Oh, it stops with him.
If an advert was put for a managerial position for a certain company, City, all Eric, all Ndu, or anybody else can feel like they can apply. But you have to consider one thing. You might be having the right qualifications, but when you look at the specs and how that company is, you have to ask yourself one question before you apply. Can I handle that company? Can I handle it? Can I be able to know even the lowest person in that company, what he does and how he does his duties? That is what is considered a suitable managerial position, someone who can handle it. You have to know you can do it. If you can't do it, don't apply. He applied for work to be the president of Kenya, to lead this nation. When he's given advice, yes, but it is his decision. He makes the decision.
Ultimately, it's his call.
He's given a variety of options, and he makes a decision out of what he gets from his advisors. At the end of the day, he is the one who decides. We are not having this lockdown for the first time. We had it before. Until now, we should even have perfected it this time. It should have been better, because we take what we did last time, we improve where there were wrongs, and now this time we prepare ourselves. We know we are going to lock the country, because he did not wake up one day and decide to lock the country. He knew he's going to do it. So before you do it, you plan, you look at the river, you refer to the previous one. Where did we go wrong?
You ask the right
question. You call the right person. You tell them last time, this is where things went wrong. I don't want it going wrong this time. That is what a good leader does. And that is why I say those adjectives are used. It's either he's ignorant or he's clueless. He doesn't know what is happening.
Are you then saying, if I may ask, that it is not possible for a president to be misled?
He will be misled. I mean, niye mwenyewe atakubali kuwa misled. Because it means if you can be misled as a manager, at the current, ile tuko saa mambo unaingia kwa mtandao, unajua kila kitu kwa ground iko vipi. Someone tells you this is happening somewhere. With mtandao ile tuko nayo na yeye akiwa kama president, what he has access to, within the next 5 minutes, he can confirm.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay, we hear you. Asante, Anthony.
He should know what he's doing.
The buck stops with
and
the president.
The buck stops with him.
All right.
I think we should fire him now.
Asante sana. Miriam in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Salama.
Good morning. Salama. Sasa juzi nakuja na SGR. Hapo hamna social distance. It was full. Hakuna people sitting 3. Vile viti za 3 they are all packed. Na zile za 2 ziko watu wamekaa. Haya, kuja ferry ilikuwa ni ferry. Social distancing does not exist in that ferry. It's as packed as we saw, you know. So that's why you find that people are not sure what is corona. Kuna kwingine the rules apply, kuna kwingine they don't apply. Ferry ina operate kama kawaida. Watu wamefinyana, unaona. Only that now sasa kwa Mombasa, huku Mombasa wanatoa watu kwa beaches. Unaona. Na beach fine, people having fun kwa maji na nini, but how come kwa ferry doesn't apply? How come kwa SGR doesn't apply? Shaona. And then please could you clarify kwa hii international travel? Manake na ndege yangu Wednesday na usafiri. Is it closed international ama kwaje?
International travel is
open.
allowed. That is open.
It's open, eh?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sasa lakini pigia airline yako waulize, will they bring you from Mombasa to Nairobi so that you can
international kutoka nje ya Kenya?
Kutoka Mombasa kwenda direct ama utasafiri kutoka Nairobi JKIA?
From Mombasa.
Okay.
from Mombasa international kuondoka Kenya zatoka. Manake information inaonekana haiko clear.
It's open.
Hata Nairobi kuondoka is okay.
Yes. So long as it's internationally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sasa social distance wa address vizuri manake there are some places ambapo hai exist. SGR haina social distance, mimi nimekuja nayo watu wamejaa kama kawaida.
Nimekusikia Mariam. Asante.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much. 27 minutes past 8 o'clock. Let's take a break. See what's happening on the roads, what's happening at the single lane Suez canal. It's about time they made a dual carriageway there. Should consider that. And also let's take a look at the weather forecast for Nairobi, for other major towns and cities in the country and around the world. Good morning. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. SpiceFM.
The weather with Spice.
Through in Nairobi, we'll see highs of 28 today and lows of 17. Light rain continuing in Nyeri at 18, going to highs of 25, lows of 14. The lows will be 15 in Nakuru. It's mostly cloudy now at 21. We're going to see highs of 26 in Eldoret. It's mostly cloudy at 23. Highs of 30 in Kisumu, mostly cloudy at 22. It's mostly cloudy in Kakamega at 23, going to highs of 30 and lows of 16 today. 25 will be the low in Mombasa, where it's raining now, 28 degrees, going to highs of 33. It also ring out highs of 33 in Malindi today. It's mostly sunny at 29. Rain showers in Kampala at 29, highs of 26 and lows of 18. 33 will be the high recorded in Dar es Salaam, where it's raining right now at 27. Mostly cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 12, highs of 21 and lows of 12. Mostly clear in Lagos at 27, highs of 33 and lows of 26. And it is mostly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, let's look at some international traffic, and it would look as though the evergreen ship that was blocking part of the Suez Canal right around the borders with Egypt, that part of it has been refloated, and so this would see that this 320 ship-long traffic would likely to be eased sometime today. So we're going to keep abreast of that story. Looking at traffic closer to home now, on Mombasa Road, it's looking like it'll open up in a bit. Still inbound towards the city, some drama, but it's not too terrible this morning. Thika Road has been fantastic today. In and outbound, not much of an issue. James Gishuru and Gong Road have some traffic today because of that stalled truck right in the middle of Kingara Road. So that's going to take some time. Still, they're trying to move it. It's been almost 2 hours now. Hopefully that will be sorted out in good time. All right, we'll keep an eye on things for you. Let us know also how we can help, where you might be stuck this morning if that happens. SpiceFM KE, that's how you can get in touch. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Right here, Spice FM KE, KTN, Home, and online, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The conversation this hour is with regards to the order that was given by the president on Friday and the impact that had immediately on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday night, into the weekend. seeing people who were really, really stranded trying to come in or out of Nairobi yesterday. The order had to be clarified more than once. Same day, the government spokesman called in a press conference on Saturday to clarify and say, this is what happened, this is what the order meant. And now the government has also now revised some of the orders that were issued by the president. So people who advise the president, who sit and look at matters, go to the president and say, this is what we advise that you do. Order an immediate lockdown of these particular 5 counties. Order a cessation of movement. Order that from tomorrow morning, the SGR, direct express and inter-county SGR to and from Mombasa stops operating. Order that flights stop operating domestically immediately. Order this, and the other. And then some of those are now being clawed back, making the president appear as if he did not know what he was saying. And that's why even Anthony is saying, come on, but the buck stops to the president. Did you look at that and did you question?
And you say, hold on a minute, this doesn't make sense in terms of operation.
How are we ordering schools to close and yet people cannot get into and out of this zone? How are we ordering schools to close?
That's why I asked, is it possible for the president to be misled?
It is. But a president who's been misled.
It is, but even you sitting in your corner, when you heard this, did it make sense to you? There's the first thing as a human being, did you not think to yourself, hold on a minute, how is this going to work? Same living.
Did you ask those questions? Show me.
Show me how this will work.
Show me how this rolls out.
Yeah, because whether or not you're affected directly, you're going to ask yourself the question, because you sitting in Nairobi or sitting wherever, you thought to yourself, hold on, what about those people who go to work outside the county? How are they going to get back home?
Actually, those aren't the thoughts that come to your mind.
It should, and that's what we're saying.
What comes to your mind?
What comes to your mind
when you hear
there's
a lockdown? The thing that hits your mind first is survival.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean to me directly? All those things come later, but at that point in time.
But you as president,
who this thing is not going to bother how you move or not. It should come to your mind that the people over which you are giving this order have to make that decision.
Is this not the point where we ask the president to call in and tell us what he's thinking?
0719-012-600. John, see a call from State House. Pick it up. Mark in Thika, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. How are you?
Morning, Mark.
I will pick up from the line where that guy said the president is maybe clueless or doesn't know what he's saying. Because remember, last year, guys, we had such a thing.
Yes.
Watu wengi walifutwa kazi, layoffs everywhere, right? Most of the companies didn't even open up.
Yep.
Because most of them were learning, walikuwa wanaenda through on loans.
Yep.
And a business has to run in order to service a loan.
True.
Clubs mingi hazikurudi kazi.
So they collapsed, yeah.
Na wenye walirudi, they only recalled a few. And now, 1 year later, somebody stands up and anasema ati kufungwe tena. Now, when I'm using myself as an example, I was fired. Nikaenda nikachukua kalon and bought a motorbike. I started ferrying people from Thika to Nairobi in the border penye iko. And then tumefika kilele, some guy comes up anatuongezea mafuta double price.
Some guy,
Surely you tell us. I mean, we elected him. I personally did. Sasa surely Mkenya anaenda kutinua mahali unagongwa. And then a lockdown from nowhere. How are we going to survive this? We don't know. The insecurity is rising. Sasa pikipiki in fact ilibiwa jana.
Pikipiki yako ilibiwa?
Yes.
Hey, pole.
Imagine in fact the kind of insecurity you have now is so funny. Like somebody is not even coming to steal electronics, anakuja kuiba unga na cabbages. Because people are rendered hungry now. Sure. They are dying.
I hear you, Mark. I hear you. Asante.
Okay.
Asante sana. Rono in Eldoret. Good morning.
Good morning to you, good people.
Good morning, Rono.
Yeah, it's my 2 cents worth. It is very easy to sit down and twiddle our fingers and apportion blame. The weight of command on the president is cannot be overemphasized. But what is coming out very clearly is the glaring lack of synergy, even among ourselves. Get into a matatu and look at how people behave. You put on a mask for the police and the kanjo. Look at what happens in the supermarkets. Get in there, get very close to each other. You don't know where the other person has come from or what they're suffering from. Even before we talk of the lockdown, the effects of corona, quite a number of us have lost people we know, not names, not numbers, actual people.
Yeah.
We are in a situation where all of us need to pull together. It's not about looking at what who has done or what has not done.
So it's water under the bridge. Now let's deal with what is
Water
currently
under the
before us.
bridge.
Okay.
What we should be talking about is what can we do given the circumstances. What are some of the mitigating measures we can take?
Should we ignore the impact that the kind of decision making that was made, for example, on the weekend has had on people? Should we ignore, for example, this photo of this woman who's carrying a load on her head and a child on her back, who is being told to pay 4,000 shillings from Eldoret to Nairobi because of the kind of chaos and confusion that has emanated out of an order?
It tells you something, my good friend. It tells you of the lack of coordination within our systems, both government and non-government.
Okay.
Even at the private level, it tells you we are really running in a jungle of some sort. With the right
helter-skelter.
Helter-skelter. The government does not know what to do. The citizens don't know what to do. So it's actually a cry out for leadership.
Thank you. Thank you, Rono. Lydia in Nakuru, good morning.
Good morning, habari yenyu?
Nzuri sana Lydia, habari yako?
Muko sawa?
Tuko salama.
Tunashukuru. Sasa ukiadvise mtu lazima umadvise ina maana ambayo ataelewa. Sasa unastukia tu Saturday kumewekwa lockdown, ati corona bado iko, hatukatai lockdown. Wale ambao wanamuadvise hawamuadvise vizuri. Yeye siye mwenye problem. Wale wanao advise wanafaa, hata yeye anafaa aende atafute mtu amuulize what can we do. Kwa sababu imagine sasa business zimepotea, watu hawana kazi. Yes, we can say it is this disease that is making, lakini kwa advise mtu hapo tunapoteza kila kitu, kwa sababu lazima lazima hata mwenye kukueleza lazima akwambie vizuri. Akwambie vizuri kuko hivi na hivi.
Tumekusikia. Thank you, Lydia.
Yani hiyo shida iko kwa wale
advisors. John in Elbagon, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Morning, very John. Well, thanks.
Yes, Friday I called you there and I told you I was supposed to go to bury a friend on Saturday.
Yes, you did.
Had a ticket from Nairobi to Kisumu. Of course, is it at 3 or 4 when we got the information that there's a lockdown? And there was confusion. We didn't know if we'll be able to travel or not. So, by around towards the end of the night, it was not clear if somebody would be able to leave Nairobi or not. So, of course, I didn't travel. The following day, we are told that the flights are still operating. Somebody can fly. So I called KQ. I asked them, at first I don't know if anybody of you have ever tried to call KQ.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I called KQ from 8, I went through at 5 p.m. That's when I was able to talk to somebody.
On Saturday?
On Saturday. And they told me your ticket was suspended because you did not show we had a flight to Kisumu. Remember?
So did you make the flight?
Yeah? No, I didn't.
It was too late.
We didn't know if there was a flight or not.
It was too late.
There,
Right.
there was no communication.
I can imagine. I can imagine, John, that even the airline itself was in that
Yes.
same state.
Exactly.
Because they've just heard the word of the president from State House, and
Yes.
they've heard that there's not going to be flights from midnight.
But KQ now they are saying that there was a communication in the night. I don't know what is the night that people can still travel.
Yes.
And if you did not travel, then it is a no-show. So you are supposed to be penalized for it. I don't know if you are getting my situation.
What you've described is exactly what happens if,
in a normal.
Yes,
if you don't turn up.
Yeah,
but this isn't a
yes.
normal situation.
This is not a normal situation.
No.
I think
So
have
we
a
have to
conversation with the airline, because
Yeah,
I know, for
we are
example,
saying-
I was to travel on Saturday via Jumbo Jet, and they had to send in that notification saying we are rescheduling your flight times from this time to this time. If you accept, then you come and fly, and if you decline, then it means that you can select another date where this whatever you had paid will be credited to you for future travel.
Exactly. And that was my point when I was talking to KQ. And they told me that they only send such information if the flight has been changed. So the flight was not changed. They never said. They don't say this.
Pole, John. Pole sana. Pole
Yeah,
sana.
but now, just on this other issue of the lockdown, I'm just asking myself, what is the purpose of this lockdown? Are they telling us that within this, they are calling it disease zone?
Yes.
Within the disease zone, you can do whatever you want as long as you don't go out.
Yes.
Yes.
Because within the disease zone, all the other protocols have been broken. Go to the market, go to the malls, go to the matatus. Those protocols are not being observed. So to me, even if they have this cessation of movement, let them within this zone. Let them ensure that the protocols
There's
are
proper
observed. Otherwise,
enforcement.
it will not serve. Yes, otherwise it will not serve the purpose.
That's very true. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Ian Mureithi in Kariakoo.
Habari yenu guys.
Hatujambo sana guy, na wewe ukoje?
Niko mzuri.
Asante.
Hapa Kariakoo tuko salama. I would like to contribute on the lockdown issue.
Karibu sana.
For those who watched on TV, after he finished speaking to addressing the nation, did you see him looking for his mask?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeye ndio ametoa mask, ameweka hapo. It actually shows how the government works. Yeye ndio anaonyeshwa hivi ndio utasema. So he didn't actually ask the questions. Kama hiyo mambo ya shule, he didn't actually consider that most of the students or kuna watu wanafanya KCSE, KCPE. So that was my contribution.
Thank you. We hear you. Asante sana. Paul in Mombasa. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, I'd love to contribute. The whole thing, actually, the government seems to be confused somehow, and we don't really understand who advises who. But at the end of the day, also, what was the lockdown intended to achieve? Because if you say that you're giving people time to move, and these are disease-infested zone, as they say, so if you let them out of that zone, you're going to infect the other zones, of course.
Yeah.
So that's why they should, in my view, they should never be that prior.
There shouldn't be a window.
There shouldn't be a window for that movement. Because if you're moving these people, then you're telling them, go infect the other area, then there is no need of locking down why are you locking?
Sure. I mean, there's some
But-
that have come out to say, brother, that, what it was is that, you lock people down, but you're kind of then releasing your hand on the other side to say, okay, well, we've locked you down, but you can still move in this area. So as to give the impression that you're not totally confined. But the truth of the matter is that scientifically, from what they've told us, if you are really intent on breaking the chain, there should be no movement.
Yes.
Right.
But in a country like Kenya, you cannot really lock everything, like zero movement, because
Right, of course.
the resources are not there. Okay, they are there, but they are not they are not nowhere to be seen. But definitely they are there. So what I think the intention is good, but now reaching out to that Mwananchi who's been locked down, the system should have a way to look for that last person who's been locked down, doesn't have rent, doesn't have what, and see how they should get him out of that. But locking it is a good idea. And for people in Mombasa, they should also be prepared, because what I'm seeing even from where I am, there's no one with a mask. People are just walking, holding hands, and it's normal. It's normal. Yesterday I was somewhere, and the behavior is worse than what you would think. I think people forgot about Corona. Actually, people have Corona on their lips, but in their minds, Corona doesn't exist. So Mombasa should also prepare that they are being locked very soon.
Yep.
So people should start preparing where to go. If you're not supposed to be in Mombasa, look for where you're supposed to be.
Start
because
moving.
You'll be locked down very soon.
Thank you, Paul. Dennis in Bomet, good morning.
Morning to you guys.
Morning, Dennis.
Yeah, okay. For me, I have some few questions, maybe implications on what the president did. For me, I'm a student, and I studied in Kakamega. And we were told to resume back to school probably on late February. And then when we are in school, we normally pay rent for the whole semester. And we stayed all about for 1 month. Then we were told again, can you go home? Yet we have paid that amount. And the landlords, they cannot refund that money.
Yeah.
So I think they were supposed also to see on the side of education, now they can handle that issue, because now we are at home again. Not knowing how long we are going to stay. And then the parents also will be having that burden whereby they've paid fees, they paid the rent, also massively we took food to school, then also we are supposed to return back that food. So it was very unfortunate. That is my opinion. I'm begging the president maybe to, at least whenever he takes advice also, he has to take wise advice so that it cannot
Ask
do
all the
things which cannot.
questions.
For sure.
Yeah.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, Janice. Brian in Nairobi.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I think the biggest problem we have as a country is we do not keep the government into account. When the coronavirus came last year into the country, and after the first lockdown, the president had ordered the county government to put in place measures by building isolation centers, increasing bed capacity, so that we spread this disease. The initial lockdown was supposed to stop our hospitals from being overwhelmed and to give government time to increase the facilities.
Yeah.
And in that measure, they took a lot of loans in the name of COVID. But they've not increased the ICUs, because the same statistics we are reading right now are almost the same as when the COVID was starting. So the government did not take this COVID seriously. When you look what China did, when they did a lockdown, they built hospitals in days. And right now, Chinese are free. So when we lock down, we should have a strategy of how to arrest this virus. Maybe in these zones, they should prioritize this vaccination and maybe build us, because we will keep on closing down, opening up, then we have another wave. We lock down, we open up, then we have another wave.
Actually, that is precisely what will happen, to be honest.
Yes.
What I'm saying is not encouraging, neither is it uplifting, but if you look at anywhere in the world, with the exception of China and some of the countries that have contained it, This is the very
Yes.
thing that happens. There are countries where if they even note that there are 2 people who have come in and test COVID, they shut down that particular region.
Yes.
So this,
Yes.
unfortunately, is the process that is actually followed.
But you see, those countries, we have to put into context. We are a third world country. Those countries, they can be able to provide support for those people who are not working. Here, we are on our own. You see, a student in Nairobi whose parents live somewhere in Eldoret, they cannot survive when they are locked down in Nairobi without given ample time to move where they are comfortable. You see, we are preventing death, and this disease, 80% of people, it's not affecting them. From the infected people statistics in Kenya, how many are in hospital? What percentage? So the government should put in place measures to protect the vulnerable. Let's say the old should be kept aside, or the sick should be kept. We need to strike a balance because we are trying to save lives from COVID, but from fatality rate of COVID and other comparable to other diseases are killing more. Even this mental health from the lockdown will kill more people. People will commit suicide for failing to provide for their families. So we are trying to prevent death from one thing, and we are getting the same result from other items. So we need to find a balance.
Thank you, Brian. Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
We hear you. Conversation continues right here on Spice FM. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 6 minutes to 9 o'clock. We've been live on KTN Home since 7 a.m. coming up to now, going to 9. You can tune in to the conversation into the next hour. 94.4 in Nairobi. In Mombasa, it's 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu. Nakuru is 96.0. Eldoret is 96.7, 90.9 in Nyeri. Malindi is 97.7. Give it right here. Good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Spice FM. Nyeri. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
What are the
done
comments
right.
on social media?
Oh my goodness, quite some this morning. Daniel Osiemondira says Kenyans should understand our president. The lockdown is temporary and necessary to curb holiday migration upcountry, taking consideration Easter after the Passover.
Otherwise known as Palm Sunday.
Well, voila. We will lift this temporary curve. Talk to me, people. Do you need stimulus for a week-long necessary measure? Well, we don't know if it's just a week. Likelihood of it being longer than that is actually high. Wangeshi Kate says proper communication lacked. The president's communication department is to blame. Chris Cricks says government policymakers are doing a lot of guesswork. They know very well that lockdowns and curfews are counterproductive, yet they still go ahead and implement them. It was poorly planned. Jonathan Langat says, tuning from Tinderet, I personally blame State House Advisory Panel for improper instant effective orders. Johanna Michael says the president is the main show. He has the final decision and say, kwani yeye hana opinion yake? Abraham Biwott, the people advising the president are not in touch with reality. The executive working on an autopilot trial and error strategy, really, according to Wanjohi. Jonathan Langat says Uhuru Kenyatta is to be blamed also for disrespecting the vulnerable, hustling nation in spite of the planless orders. And it continues. Samuel Makolo says, I couldn't agree more. The citizens, or should I say the subjects, are on their own. As the sun must rise, so must life move on, and people have to survive, even by the skin of their teeth. Ochieng says, have you noticed the confusion of making the speech clear? Lots of confusion galore. The rot starts from the tail, not the head. Okay, I don't know which fish this is, according to Maravura, but apart from the people around him, can he himself make sober decisions? This is a question. The president should have revised the suggestions made by the council, according to Sir Shuja. Peter Mwangombe says, since the guy took office in 2013, has there been any effective planning coming out of this government? Uhuru was too young to lead. Well, okay. Issuing directives and injunctions may be easy, but what of the ripple effects, according to Samuel? I can't read their minds on the plans that they have for the same. Our leaders flouted their own directives, which I believe escalated the infections. Now we pay bitterly for their sins. Who is to blame? And it goes, there's lots more with this. Sadi says, definitely, there was no plan. Directives were given out. Minutes later, clarifications were issued out. Who is responsible for the irresponsible communication from State House? People around the president are seriously misleading him.
And questions should be asked of these people.
Sure, I'll take one more from Nathan, and he says, looks like there's a big disconnect between the president and the subjects. The president has surrounded himself with people living in utopia. He's completely out of the irrational, impractical, and angry. I don't think this is how you run a country 60 years after independence. My goodness. And there's a lot more. But
the president basically should, by the time the government spokesman has to come out to clarify, it means that the people who came up with the plan did not come up with a solid plan.
And you realize that even before the government spokesman came out Saturday morning to do this, there was already some kind of clarification from public service, one from White House's office. This is actually what we are saying on whether there's 1 zone, 5 zones. By the time you see such rumblings and the chatter about...
And it's not the first time.
Exactly.
Similar things happened last year. Every time the president would issue an order, there had to be clarification. This is what we mean. Clearly, there's something that's not right. And that's what I was saying. It is structural. We have got to look at the structure itself. If the structure was working, people would have looked at all those scenarios, played out all the cases, and gone to the president with a plan and said, this is likely to happen, then we can do this. This
Actually,
is likely.
They do. Those discussions are had, and the president also participates. It isn't possible for a president, as people are assuming, to simply sit there and be given something to read and just reads it. No. Discussions take place in which the president is also involved.
Then they're not asking the right questions.
Where now your take on it comes in handy. When all this information is filtered down, there is a point at which it is filtered, and then it is in the form of this message that the president delivers. That point there seems to be an issue, because these aren't matters that are discussed in a day or by 2 people. Man, there's some thorough discussions that take place about these matters.
I'm finding it uncomfortable to resonate that you know all of this and then you choose not to do nothing about it.
I don't agree.
I find it very hard to connect and say you knew that all this would happen, you made a plan, and then still you just announced things and then sat back and twiddled your thumb.
It's 9 o'clock. Good morning.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The answer to that question is no. You will not be able to pass. I think it's today, right? So if you're trying to go to Mombasa via Nairobi via road, you can't. And a lot of people are asking that question today. Can we do it? No. You cannot pass. Sorry. So there's no traffic within the city. There's very little. There seems to be wanting traffic now between the counties. It's not going to happen, at least for now, guys. All right? It's not going to happen. So please just have that clarification. Don't go get stuck at the roadblocks. It will be an exercise in futility. Is not going to happen. There is no traffic on Thika Road. People have basically stayed where they are, and people who needed to get into the city coming from Thika Road have not had a problem this morning at all. I hope it continues that way through the day. We'll take a look and see how that opens up. On Mombasa Road outbound, still some traffic, and I think this is just attributed to the construction that's going on as you get to Huru Highway. Actually, now we're looking at it, and it's not too bad as you're trying to get into the CBD and then out towards Westlands. Looking pretty good around the city, guys. You're not going to spend too much time in traffic this Monday morning. Let's keep an eye on things and see how this unfolds through the morning and through the day. SpiceFM KE, talk to us should you need to. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2.5 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. CTE, today's proverb.
Supposing does not fill the grain basket, if doesn't fill the ladder.
Supposing grain basket filleth not.
No. I was about to say noteth.
Go ahead. I mean, you might as well. You might as well just.
If doesn't fill the ladder.
Oh, God. Okay.
Inakuwaga hivyo.
Okay. So, how many days since you got your COVID vaccine? 10 days now, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Any side effects so far?
No, none.
None.
Mild
headache?
No.
Some numbness?
Nothing
or
unusual.
Itching on your arm?
No, not any twitch is a twitch that was there before I got the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's normal.
Have you received that much awaited SMS finally?
I honestly have not been waiting for it.
Oh, you gave up?
No, I didn't even give up. I didn't even hope.
You were not even expecting it.
No. If it comes, it will come. I mean, surely, should I not expend my energies on things that are more useful?
Things that you can actually control.
Shakil Shabir told us that when he went for his vaccine in Kisumu, he got a certificate.
He did.
I saw somebody else who went for a vaccine in Machakos County. They also got a certificate.
Yes.
Somebody else went for the vaccine at another public hospital. They got the SMS.
Yes.
As soon as they got the injection,
yes,
SMS came in.
See, the abnormal is not getting it. Do you understand? The abnormal practice or behavior is that you don't receive the SMS.
You don't receive the SMS, you have no certificate, nothing to show that you got a vaccine.
Just neighbors here, Rwanda, for example, you get jabbed immediately. You get your certificate. It's a card that you're given, stamped, done. Other countries, you have, my friends are sending me pictures and they're saying that, you have to have some kind of vaccine awareness, get your vaccination, post a picture, have your certificate that has actually been done. The abnormal is not to get an SMS. The abnormal is not to get a certificate that has actually been done. Where? Okay. Where are you going to go to say, excuse me? I was here on this day.
I actually know where I can go.
I understand. But they said, but I never got. What are you going to use to prove, to say that you got jab number 1?
They told you the day you're going to get your second jab. Do you remember the date?
I don't recall being told.
They told you.
No, I'm sure they told me. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I don't recall. I'm not putting the blame on them.
Okay, so let's say,
how will you know?
How will you be able to say that
you're supposed to go?
I know it isn't an exact date. It is over after a certain period of time.
How long?
I'm not even sure anymore.
So what? Because the certificate and the SMS, they're basically telling you, so and so, you have received your jab. It was this batch, ABCD, and your next jab shall be
on this date.
This date.
You see what I'm
because you even now get to know
yes
the batch number.
Yes.
So if you came up with several people from the same batch number
came up with a problem,
then you start localizing it.
You see, Eric, before all this happened, remember there was discussion. There were discussions about when the vaccines would actually get to Kenya. And they were even told when the first batch would arrive and when the next would arrive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I am basing the second vaccine on the second batch. Because remember, the focus was on a certain group of people. Not everybody was going to get vaccinated. Okay? I'm explaining this thing to you logically.
Yes.
Right? So after that first sequencing, then the next, I am waiting to be told. Now, those who got the first vaccination, okay, the second batch of vaccines have arrived.
It's ready.
You will be able to get your second. I am waiting for that announcement.
Actually, according to the rollout plan, that initial batch that arrived, you should get your 2 doses
from that batch.
I understand
So the
because
people-
it's 1 million and we've been discussing about half a million
Half a
people
million,
get
yes.
it.
Yes.
Now, let me explain to you why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay? Communication seems to be an issue here. All right? And what I haven't read, despite the reading that I do, is that if I got my vaccination this month of March and I get the second one in May, will it affect me adversely? The answer is no.
If you got both in March.
No, if I get one in May, I've got one in March, I get one in May.
Yes.
Okay.
That I got that. So I'm asking now, on the other hand, if you
Supposing-
got both, if you just decided, if it was in Aisha, let me go for my second one.
I am certain there are people who've already done that.
Yes, now because you didn't even get
So-
the notification of the first one. So how
I am
would you just
certain
say-
there are people who've already done that.
Does
No.
it affect you?
No. Again, I will read and I will wait for further communication on how it is they want to go about it.
Further communication when you didn't get the first one.
From the newspapers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, the Ministry of Health will communicate at some point, and statements will be made, and I will be able to read them.
Okay.
After all, I read the papers every single
It's
day.
likely that a committee will be set up as to find out the reasons why the majority of people did not get
The
their
committee won't be set up. The committee
certification
already exists.
And SMSs as to what the problem might be.
I am certain that this matter of the SMSs are being worked on, and probably the system crashed. Whatever happened, as I said, I'm not even thinking about it. It doesn't even, it's not among the list of things that I worry or think about. It simply isn't. No.
You have full confidence.
It will happen. We
That
will be
things will
told.
happen.
I will be informed. I will know. But to start anticipating and being concerned about it, that is the last thing I'm going to do.
My point of concern is with regards to the rollout. First of all, there was that hesitancy from seemingly from healthcare workers, and I still dispute that. I still dispute that there are very many healthcare workers who have refused to go for the vaccine, to the extent that a county can actually report and say, after 2 weeks of vaccination, we've only done 90 people. I dispute that you have so many healthcare workers who are saying no to this vaccine. Today's Standard has headlined this issue of the vaccine, and it's looking at various people who have gone for the vaccine. It's talking to governors, to doctors and all. Many are willing and many have gone for the vaccine. My point of concern here, as I started by saying, is on A, the communication, and 2, the logistics of rolling out the vaccination campaign. First 2 weeks, we had 40,000 people. On the third week, we've gotten to 90,000 people. Okay? Is it where we should have been by now?
No.
By the time we're getting to a level where the government is also just revising and saying, okay, now 58 and above, you can go get the vaccine. Please, healthcare workers, please just go and get the vaccine. A point where people who are just turning up to go get the vaccine are not being turned back. They're being told, it's okay, come get the vaccine. It shows that there's a breakdown somewhere. There's breakdown somewhere in how this exercise is being conducted, being managed, being rolled out.
Without a doubt, there is. You see, the attitude that I'm expressing may seem a little casual and a little, if I may use a Kenyan term, don't care-ish. It isn't that. It's, in my mind, a very practical perspective to take. And why am I calling it practical? I'm calling it practical because even when it came to the issue of the vaccine, if I wasn't otherwise engaged in an institution where we're told vaccinations are being gotten at this particular health facility, I probably wouldn't have known. All the information that I got from other people, it was word of mouth. Oh, we hear at Afia House they're vaccinating. Oh, we hear, and there'd be people going, and there'd be people who tell you. I remember when I was in the queue at Mbagathi, you had gone to Kenyatta. The queues there are horrendous. So somebody went to Kenyatta, found the queues horrendous, and then came to Mbagathi. I went directly to Mbagathi because I knew I had been informed. But what I'm saying is, I'm looking at the reality of the system that we have and how best to approach it. Nairobi Hospital and some of the private hospitals have a link where they tell you you can sort of like
make a reservation.
Yes, okay. Some will tell you they're already full. I know for a fact because I asked someone because I have been a patient at Nairobi Hospital, they send me notifications every once in a while. So they actually sent me that link. And I sent it to someone who actually wanted to go. And he informed me, yes, Not only did they respond, but he has booked a date and they have sent him the official date
Confirmation.
with the logo and everything. Confirmation. They've done it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that's a system which clearly works, right? Others will communicate that they are full for the next 2 weeks, but they have communicated.
So there is a system existing which works, and people can actually go and get it. My question is then that it would appear that on this other side of the rollout, this communication or this flow is not working. And to me, it's indicative of something else. You cannot tell me that even with what is available, less than a fifth of people in an entire month has been done. Why? And we have other exercises in this country which require much more in terms of logistics, which requires much more in terms of organizing people to be in a particular place at a particular time over a shorter period. And it's done seamlessly, smoothly. Why? And you know what? Looking at the importance of this, in this time when you're saying we are going to enforce a lockdown, we are going to make sure that people stay in one place, why are we doing that? So that people can be protected. And what is a sure line of defense against COVID is the vaccine. Why wouldn't you want, with speed and alacrity, to make sure that this thing works?
It's an emergency,
It's an emergency right here, right now. Why is it not being given the importance, in my opinion, that it needs?
There's a lack of coordination
Come on.
somewhere.
Yeah.
There's
something amiss.
a task force that was set up to come up with a plan. They came up with a plan. There's then somebody who's supposed to manage the implementation of that plan and then seek coordination of other government agencies. I think that's where the problem comes in. Because if you look at everything else, those things have been taken to the county governments. Counties are supposed to roll them out. It didn't take long for the vaccine to move from Kitengela to the counties. Moved very fast. But within no time, counties are reporting they have received. So from that point, where was the confusion?
What happened?
What happened? How is it then that we are seeing, okay, now the uptake is slow, the communication around it is mixed up.
Or are they finished?
What, the vaccines?
No.
Finished how?
What do you
Have they run out?
Hey,
It is but
what do you want me to say?
how
Because I
can a
don't
million?
understand.
How can a million vaccines
Run
run
out
out?
and you've only vaccinated 90,000.
But what do you
Do
want me
the-
to
do the
say? It
maths.
doesn't make sense to me. Why then is it not being...
Actually, apathy should not actually be surprising.
It's not the only reason
It's
as
not
to
really
why.
surprising because if you look at what has been in the media domain, social and otherwise, gainsaying and having a negative perspective on vaccines, you cannot say that has no effect, especially when some of the people who've been at the forefront have been medical doctors themselves. Now, then you look at social media and what has happened in Europe. We've had people calling in. You try and explain that what those countries did was to pause and they've resumed. That resumption, that one doesn't feature. All the conversation you hear is they stopped. There were blood clots.
Yes.
Essentially, when the seed of doubt has actually been planted,
there's little...
getting logic out of that is really a very difficult task. There are those who've argued that all people who fall into the category of health workers should have been vaccinated. Yani, it must be a must. You must be vaccinated. Because in all honesty, people who go to hospitals and have to be in contact with these people, if this isn't a surety, then what you're saying is you have made the health workers a point of great infection.
Right, but it's always been said that hospitals are the war zone. In the beginning of this, what were they telling people? That don't present yourself...
you have a weapon that's supposed to reduce the risk of danger.
Exactly.
And it's being reported they're among the people who
don't want to use it.
Yes.
But you know what? If you look at the nitty-gritty, what were we told here? It's not necessarily that they don't want to use it. It's that the information surrounding it, they were not adequately prepared. They were not given the information.
What information are we talking about?
What are some of the adverse effects? Why choose this one over the other one?
Addressing their concerns.
Addressing their concerns as health workers that could have been involved in the process of selecting the first one that you would pick as a vaccine for the country, and they were not told. They've not been told about the adverse effects. And if those effects are so much that they could affect the health of somebody, then why not pick another one? They were not involved in
so
this
why
process
do
and
they then
wanted to
readily vaccinate people who have even less information than them?
The ones that are vaccinating.
The ones that are vaccinating are few.
Those are the members of the choir.
The conductor is not there.
No.
17 minutes after 9. Let's take a break. Let's see how the weather is going to look like today across the country. Naivasha had a hailstorm yesterday.
Yeah,
So how is it going to be like today?
I tell you just now.
Okay. Good morning.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi hiyo umbo yako iko na pembe.
The weather with Spice FM.
All right, so we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 20. It'll go to highs of 28 today. There is a chance of rain coming down to lows of 17. Nyeri is mostly cloudy at 18, highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's cloudy in Nakuru at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 15. Mostly cloudy conditions at Eldoret. Going out west, highs of 26 and lows of 14. Kisumu will be mostly cloudy for most parts of today. 24, highs of 30 and lows of 19. We'll see highs of 30 in Kakamega, mostly cloudy right now at 25. It's mostly sunny in Mombasa at 30, highs of 33. Highs of 33 in Malindi as well. It's mostly sunny at 30. Rain in Kampala at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 18. It's also raining in Dar es Salaam at 29, highs of 33 and lows of 25. Joburg is still mostly cloudy at 13, highs of 21 and lows of 12. It's sunny in Lagos at 26, highs of 33, lows of 26, and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa at 22. It'll go to highs of 30 today. Beijing is quite sunny and warm. We're going to see highs of 18 and lows of 5. 21 will be the high in Paris today, getting closer and closer to spring. It's sunny at 5 right now, and cloudy in London at 10, highs of 19 and lows of 7. And New York into Monday morning, 10 degrees, clear, highs of 14 and lows of 3.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
20 after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. So, City, you really believe that hesitancy is actually also playing a big part in why the numbers are so low?
Yes.
90,000 people so far out of a
Yes.
target of 500,000 people.
yes, people tend to consult those who they believe have more information than they do, especially when it comes to medical issues. They will, and if there is hesitation from the medical corps, believe me, the general public will be even more hesitant. And they ask a basic question: if these people who know better than we do and who are the front line have their doubt, who am I?
So they are influencers, these people.
They
right?
are very serious influencers, actually.
But
they're opinion shapers.
In a health facility, so if a doctor has not gone for the jab and they're saying, I don't know anything about it, and they're basically appearing as if they have no confidence in the jab, that will make the security person, the cleaners, the people who work in the kitchen to also hesitate.
They would hesitate.
Of course.
But then there's always the issue of the individual choices that people make. They would hesitate.
They would hesitate, but what are the things we've talked about before? Who are the two people that you listen to most? Social beings who listen to their pastor or religious leader and their doctor. Now, if your doctor is a bit undecided about something, what do you think your reaction is going to be? The reaction of many people is going to say, hold on, our doctors are not taking this thing, so you know what? Let's wait until we see them taking it in numbers, and then we can also join the queue.
Okay. So, and then there's the other issue of the president leading by example. So the president, his cabinet, and acting chief justice, president of the Court of Appeal took their jabs over the weekend. Do you think that's going to have an impact?
Some, but you see, now that we have this COVID scare, and I'm calling it a COVID scare, people might be a little more inclined towards taking the jab than they were before. The numbers and the lockdown that we've had and everything that pertains to it. You see, COVID, there's a term Kenyans use, tumezoeana. It's a very interesting, we're used to each other. People had gotten used to COVID.
They had gotten used to what?
Yeah, they had gotten used to COVID. So COVID,
It's
is our neighbor next door, is my relative, so and so. It's not even a threat. Okay, so the need to protect yourself against this thing that you're considering and thinking, but
what's a big deal?
It's very easy to rationalize it in your mind, and the rationalization has no bearing on the truth or the reality of it, none whatsoever. The lockdown is a reminder of the truth about it, the reality, and say, folks, okay, the truth is this, the reality is this. By the way, sometimes the reality and the truth are not the same thing. Somebody can be fed with a lot of lies, and the reality becomes those lies. That's the reality. The truth is different. But here we have truth and reality merging. Now, if you take the example of the person who would ordinarily want to get vaccinated, remember, vaccination is free. Okay? Now you're going to ask, do you think that they are going to seek to be vaccinated now that there is a lockdown? Because the hospitals have not been locked down. Because now with the lockdown, you could argue you have more time on your hands if you're within the environments of Nairobi. Are they going to seek vaccination? My answer is there'll be more people going to seek vaccination.
More people in the category we're talking about.
Yes.
People who work in hospitals, people who work in schools, because it's both teaching and non-teaching staff in education institutions.
Yes.
People who work in the security sector.
Yes. When I was getting my vaccination, I remember I saw 2 vehicles, school vehicles, and people were brought by those vehicles. It's clear they were either members of staff, but they worked in that school and they had been brought by the school to get vaccinated. I saw. So I am simply saying that those who are dilly-dallying and hoping to do it in the future may now have a greater urge to push that particular agenda forward and to be a little more proactive about it. Sometimes the nudge that you require is something of this sort. So we will realize, something, we may be talking about this thing, but we really perhaps need a little protection, because that's what the vaccine is supposed to do for you. It's supposed to offer you some form of protection.
I think this is a beautiful opportunity for, again, the communication to come through. I don't think we can overemphasize the importance of communication around something like this, for a number of reasons. That if you see that there's a problem, that there's a hitch that you're facing, all right, even those in the vulnerable groups or the required groups to get this vaccination in the first place, for some reason they are not coming out, your communication then must be ramped up. And there's nothing like, they'll jump on the bandwagon. No, they will not. You need to do something specific and targeted to say, this is the 1, 2, 3 of this vaccination. It can help 1, 2, 3. It's not too late in the game to be able to put that out there and continually put it out there until the numbers that you're seeking for are actually done. The responsibility, yes, lies on the shoulders of government right now, Ministry of Health, to say, you know what, this thing has come. This is what it can do. Please come out and get vaccinated. You shouldn't have to wait for the president to come and do it and get the shot in his arm and then say, everybody, I'm forcing you to go and get this done. You shouldn't have to wait for that. The messaging should be clear. Now, if the messaging has not come out, even today, as we are saying, just under 100,000 people have been vaccinated. Start your messaging, even today. It's not too late. Start to talk to people about what needs to be done. These other countries where we're seeing millions of people having been vaccinated, what do you think they're doing? You think there's a magic potion that they're putting out into the air and then people are getting an epiphany to go and get vaccinated? No, they're using messaging and it's being put out there. Right now, is it a disaster? I'm seeing articles that people have been writing, telling us, our friends like Irungo Houghton telling us that the vaccination rollout in Kenya has been nothing short of a disaster. Can we fix it? Absolutely. And I think it's majorly right now through the messaging. So when more comes, right now we have 1 million plus 40,000 doses. What is going to happen when more come out and then you want the rest of the population to come out? It's going to be the messaging that's going to help you or not. You're not going to go and beat people and whack them out of their houses and say, go get shot up. No. But you need to put messaging out there that is clear to them and needs to come out regularly. There have been campaigns in this country to get things done. This is another one of them. Let's do it.
Can you imagine if the same energy used for the BBI was used in the vaccination?
Even the one for changing
Right.
currency.
No, that's my all-time favorite, of course.
You like that one?
Oh, I love it.
Or even the one for Huduma number. Get your
Huduma number, yes. The Huduma number
when they were
messaging.
shouting about and giving you deadlines up and down. Why not? Were you confused about the communication?
It's not that this government has not done this kind of things before.
Oh, no.
And that's where the
They
questions
have.
come in.
They
So
have.
why is it that this particular one is the way it is?
Why?
What's wrong? What's going on?
Okay, let's remove it from Huduma number and all these other counting sensors. I will go back the way you like currency. Me, I like the polio vaccination. They would announce it on radio. They would put it in the newspaper. You would get it gazetted here, there. They would tell you people will come to your house 2 by 2. And guess what? They actually came. It is up to you to say, okay, actually, my child has already received this vaccine, or I'm not interested. But they would appear at your door. And guess what? They show up with a card and they show up with their identification and they tell you, I am Mary Johnson from this place and this place ministry. And here I am with another vaccination.
And they go ahead
still
and
within the same
do the
sector.
vaccination.
They do the vaccination. Why? Then is this one so difficult?
What you will find that in very many cases, that sort of advertisement is sponsored. Somebody has paid for it. And because they've paid for it, they make sure that it actually takes place. But
if the government just made a call to the chairman of the Media Council of Kenya, not Media Council, Media Owners Association,
And said, support us
and
with
said,
airtime.
look, as media owners, support us with airtime, like you did last year on the messaging about COVID-19. Media owners would have responded and said, all right, we can do this and the other.
You want blasted messages through the day on the top of the hour during prime time? You want it on TV during prime time, morning and evening? What do you want?
actually, it's even easier because some of the organizations that give media houses some of the most advertisement are government.
Yes.
It's a scratch.
This
my
could
back
have been
situation.
done.
That's
This
why
could have
I
been
am
done
telling you,
in terms of just public
unfortunately-
service.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the conspiracy theorists will have a run in the park with this one because it doesn't make sense. Why? Look at the lockdown now that you've instituted. Same government, lockdown instituted in the country. Meanwhile, here is something that could actually protect your people, and you're not insisting that they go and get it. So are you dividing then your? You see now why your thing of they know. You see now, I'm now almost agreeing with you. Almost, I said. Now, why that theory of yours could make sense?
That it was deliberate.
Yeah.
Deliberate confusion.
Here you have something that could actually help your cause, and you're not using it. Why not?
Deliberate confusion. Let's take a break at 9:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, reminding you about Standard Jobs. New platform, jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. That's jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. You go on there and you'll be able to see jobs that have been listed. Would you like to? Are you looking for a job in whichever sector? You go there and find a job. Also, if you'd like to advertise your job, you can do that. You can subscribe to job alerts, and this will be coming to you via personalized newsletters or SMS alerts to your mobile phone. You'll be able to get them. Okay, a number of jobs already written, some with just a day to go. Field and community technologists, impact evaluation at Kenya Medical Research Institute, 1 day to go for that. ICT architecture and data governance manager, also at the National Bank. Well, this is at the National Bank of Kenya, 1 day to apply. Sales manager at Jumia KE, record management officer at National Biosafety Authority, research associate at the World Panel Division, truck driver at the Standard Media Group, human resource officer at the Kenya National Hospital. All these on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Spice up your life
And there is none. Brian O'Barra was not stuck in traffic this morning on Mombasa Road, and I think it's a good thing, no? Traffic is looking much better. Actually, the lack of it is a good thing for everybody today. We don't have much of it. Anywhere you look, in Nairobi and around the country, actually. It's a good Monday. Let's keep it that way, shall we? Let us know should you get stuck or if something phenomenal does happen, and we can share that information. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127 through the day.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
should this
Spice FM,
vaccination
Nairobi.
now just be expanded to anybody?
It should.
Anybody above 18?
Yes.
It should.
Yes.
It should. Because if you want people to get vaccinated, let them get vaccinated. Open it up.
Because it's voluntary anyway.
Yes.
I can understand why they were doing this. They were saying, all right, we are going to be getting them in limited numbers. So let's make sure that the first people are frontline workers are vaccinated.
It makes perfect sense.
Now, they've been given their chance. They seem not to be taking the chance. So shall we just say?
You should. You see, even when you said let those who are elderly or above a certain age be vaccinated, you may see the same response. But there's something I need to add here. Anytime you are conducting medical research, there are certain flows and certain patterns that are common. At the initial stages where there is a medical product that has to be taken or has to be administered, the response is usually slow. People do not, the uptake is not fast. It's never fast. And that is in a situation where the community may even be research naive, or the community has had research experience but nothing adverse has happened. But still, because it is something new, they want to wait and see.
It's a wait and see situation.
Oh!
Is it just here?
No. It's the duration. Let us say it is a 3-year. No. Okay.
No,
let me give you a
just
notice.
here in Kenya.
Well, I'm talking about research projects that I've been involved in, and they're here in Kenya, and even some where we have collaborations outside the country. The patterns are the same. People actually ensure that they wait to see what is going to happen. Let's say it's a 1-year project. As an example, the last 3 months of that project, you will be chock-a-blocked with people coming in.
Even without just vaccination, Kenyans are just last-minute people.
Because they wait
But
for
this
word
one is
of
not
mouth.
waiting for anybody. This one wants to expire in June.
Final date off.
This one wants to expire in June.
Tyranny of habit. People are in the habit of doing things in a certain way.
Last minute.
Yeah, you think, because ask yourself a simple question. When students go back to school, all right? Even if it's a 4-month holiday,
Monday, you're going to buy book
that
on
last
Sunday.
week before the schools open.
No. Sunday, you're hoping that the uniform shop and the bookshop
No, they
remain
open. They open. They know.
Till 8 p.m.
There are queues until the road. Now, the logical question you'd ask is, but you knew this a long time ago. Okay? Haven't you heard of people calling you about an emergency that their wife is expectant, about to go to hospital? And you're thinking, is this some new kind of pregnancy that happens in the week?
Oh, no, that you were informed of last week.
Yes, because 9 months, it's a long time, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
But that last week is when now it hits them. Some, it's when the wife is about to, my wife is about to deliver, and you're thinking, okay, congratulations, I know what I think. No, and here
Yes.
So.
But this one is expiring. This one wants to expire in June.
Do you really think it?
Yeah.
We're in March.
Do you think
Okay,
it
we're in
matters?
April
What are you
from
talking
today.
about? For heaven's sake. May. What's the biggie?
There is May and then there's June.
Hey, what's the biggie? Let people get blood clots as we observe. Let
Then if they
people
don't get, I'll
headaches
go.
and running stomachs as we observe. When there aren't too many, then we can present ourselves. So you've told us it's June. Then
I'm telling you something, if the messaging were to change, today, you would see that behavior turn around. Look at it.
More people would turn up.
Yes, if the messaging were to change today and say, look, guys, this way in fact, if you tell you know what? If you tell people, here's a sure way to protect yourself, and things like lockdowns will be able to remove even sooner. 500,000 today would be done. I think the conditions are pegged to how it affects you as an individual in your little space. If it doesn't, people are not. Again, your example of the money. If I have some 5,000 shillings in the old notes in my house and then somebody's going to tell me I can't use it tomorrow, I'm very fast. I go and change it.
But you're telling me
I
in
go
a
and
month's
hand it to you.
time. What's the biggie?
I'll take it.
You know,
Whenever.
when you want to, and I'm picking up from where you left it. When you want to send a message that is effective, it must resonate with the individual's personal interests.
And that's why I'm saying the messaging must change.
Yes.
The messaging has to
if
change.
it doesn't touch their personal interest,
forget it. Now you're telling people go and vaccinate. They're asking you why. Okay. But if you peg it to something that it resonates with them directly, like now this lockdown we're talking about, you're giving yourself a form of defense.
If
so that now it
everybody's
will give us an
vaccinated,
opportunity
there's
to
no
now
need for
open
lockdown.
up. Aha!
Say for you to travel, you need the certificate.
Of vaccination.
Vaccination
People-
I'm
certificate.
telling you,
People will get
today,
vaccinated.
Today, people will go and get vaccinated. The messaging must change because, as we normally say, the ends justify the means. Whether it happens or not, that's not your problem. But you want people to be vaccinated.
for you to board a matatu,
You want people to be vaccinated.
you carry your money plus the COVID vaccine.
Change your messaging. HIV, they started by saying, don't have sex. Then they became the ABCs of HIV. The ABCs, till tomorrow, you remember them. Why? Because it connected with you directly, individually. 1, 2, 3. These are things that I can do to either stop myself from getting this virus or stop members of my family from being affected or infected. I will do it very fast.
The
I can
HIV
go,
one,
get
actually,
tested,
the one that-
I will wear a condom, and then I will spread the information. Very fast, you know.
One that
what
was
needs to
speaking
happen.
and completely directly resonating was the Wachana na Mpango wa Kando campaign with Jimmy Garth coming to calculate. You see how much you're spending. You see?
You know, that one actually
Hit home.
resonated beautifully.
It hit home.
And the one which even now scared people most was when you looked at
The
this-
network.
Oh, yo.
The
That one
network.
sank home. But now, there's a rider to this. Human nature being what it is, people take it seriously.
And then they get used.
And then they get used to it. And then, like, I remember someone asked, this is something, it's a debate I had on many occasions. I remember once I was at a cultural establishment. Yes. And I was talking.
AKA.
Yes. And I was talking to a young lady who was one of our patients. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And someone came and told me, why didn't you introduce me to this young lady? Very good looking. Now, I couldn't talk about her HIV status.
Yeah.
All right? But she was well informed and she excused herself and went away. Because she had the guy didn't ask in her absence. She could hear it.
Yeah.
She went off. She was led to ask me, what's wrong with people? Now, the conversation we had was as follows. The guy told me, hey, this is a really good-looking young lady. I said, there are very many good-looking young ladies. And I said, he's begun the conversation, let us continue having it. I asked him, sir, somebody I know well, how often do you use a condom? He told me, never. So, especially with a good-looking young lady like that one, why would I? Now, this person was later to test positive.
Right.
Yes. And then he came to me and told me, no, I blame you. I said, why? You people have gone and given people these ARVs, so you can't tell that they're sick. And that is why I got infected. I'm trying to explain to you how human beings think and how they reason out. So, care-seeking behavior has its complexities. You keep throwing figures, only 20%, this percent, that percent. How someone is going to take that information and cobble it so that it makes sense to them, you will be amazed. You've heard me tell you the story of 2 research projects going on. One, medical male circumcision. You're saying it is likely to actually help you to the point of 60% prevention. It is likely to, right?
Yeah.
The guy tells you, this is a very good thing you people are doing. Because my wife is in another project, okay? And you've told us that she has a chance of being protected up to 40%. So if my wife goes for that particular project and I get circumcised, we have 100%. I'm thinking, how do I explain to this person what I did?
That's logical.
He's done the maths.
Yeah.
He's gotten 100%.
I love it.
So he's saying, so these things you're doing, it's good. In fact, we're okay now. How do I start? You're not okay.
After all, you're the one who said it.
See, I'm not giving the figures.
It's you. Hey God, messaging.
And the figures are research relevant. I'm not making it up. It's what we found out, and the end result of the research. This is what we figured out. So I'm passing it on. But they have listened and they have come to the conclusion.
Yep.
So, when it comes to vaccine, and you are 100% right here, Ndu, the messaging. How will the individuals who are hearing it, what is it about the vaccine that will make them want to go and get vaccinated?
And get it. Yeah.
Tell them to go and get vaccinated.
Not
You're
enough.
You're talking to yourself.
Yeah, not enough.
You're
Not
talking
enough.
to yourself.
No, let me give you an example. Nigeria. In Lagos specifically, people are going vaccinated and you're walking out. Yes, so because you know why? Your business is hinged to how much you're able to move around. If you're going to curtail my business because I cannot move, what is it that is going to make us then able to move without this
Vaccination.
up and down? Vaccination.
Okay.
Very fast. We go, we get vaccinated. Then I even show you I've been vaccinated. So don't come and tell me tomorrow that I will not carry my goods to market. It's not going to happen. So how are you pinning this message one to the next? You have people, the national colloquial radio, Wazobia, is telling people, come and go and get vaccinated. Though. They said that if you don't get vaccinated, you will not be well enough to move. And you know that your business is hinged to moving. Change the messaging. Unless Ministry of Health is not interested in having people vaccinated.
Isn't that messaging misleading at the same time?
Messaging is misleading insofar as you, the interpreter, and this is where the messenger, not messenger, messenger, needs to be clear. There are people, that's why you have experts. They will tell you this particular message will be received this way. So how do you get the receiver of the message to understand what you want to tell them?
Because what you're trying to tell them right now is take the vaccine. That's what you are trying to get them to do.
Yep.
Do you need to release a little bit more information so they understand? No. You want to get them to go get the vaccine. At the same time, are you putting out information that could be dangerous? No. You just want them to understand that they could be protected initially by taking this vaccination. Period. And that's as much as you let out there.
Eric,
in this case where people are not going, do you need to add a little bit more in terms of information? Absolutely.
You must.
No.
You have to.
That a little extra and how you phrase it. Come and get vaccinated so that you can go out.
No, well.
Eric, have you ever talked to someone who wanted to travel?
Next thing you find someone asking you, why am I wearing? I have a vaccine.
Yes, you've got it. You have got it. That is precisely it. The messaging never actually stops. You will now need to rely on the repetition of the messaging for it to sink. You think you've said it once. Anyone who's been a parent who has been dealt with children will understand. And anyone who has been in a learning institution at whatever level will understand.
You wrote messages.
Yes, you have to repeat it. If you don't, why do people revise?
But Eric, why do we remember the ABCs of HIV 20 years later? Why?
They were simplified into A, B, C.
And it was repetitive.
Do you really think just because we have COVID, habits that people have grown and cemented over God knows how long will suddenly vanish? I was asking the question, have you ever talked to someone who was supposed to board a bus at a certain time and wasn't there on time? Do they tell you they were there not on time? No.
Just 3 minutes late.
That's it.
The bus left me and I was here.
I was here. I was just at the door and I could see it leaving.
The bus left me. Let's hear from Omar in Kwale. Good morning, Omar.
Good morning. How are you?
Salama kabisa.
Morning.
Salama. My great friend, Siti, how are you?
I am very well, sir. And how are you, my equally great friend?
I'm fine. Now, the messaging is a problem, but the numbers are yet to rise. As teachers who are going for marking the KCSE and KCPE, they have to be jabbed. So, because the marking is central in Nairobi, so it has those guys coming from other counties have to be jabbed. So for the success of this thing, I can't imagine 1 month down the line we hit a fifth, less than a fifth actually.
Yeah, it's less than.
It's less than a fifth.
So we need to repackage it. Ndu, you've been saying about ABCs of having sex, huh? HIV.
HIV, yeah.
Yeah. Not having sex, HIV.
Yeah.
It was due to public-private partnership.
Right.
We had so many NGOs partnering with the government to make that message reach home. How many are doing that currently?
Not many.
Not many.
Yeah.
And you see, they are saying it's voluntary.
Yep.
Just make it mandatory. Simple. Simple. You will need to order some more doses.
Yep.
But those 1 million doses will expire. Let me tell you, will expire
Should be the
Before they are
saddest
used.
thing.
Before they are used.
before they are used.
It
Yes,
will be the
but if
saddest thing.
very sad, actually, very sad. It is actually an inhumane thing, not just sad.
Omar, you actually do have a very valid point, because if you make it mandatory for health workers to be vaccinated if they hope to work, that should move things forward.
Yeah, it will be complete
Yes.
by now. If you
I
don't
am
want
a
this one,
teacher.
then tell us.
I am a teacher. By now, it should be mandatory for all personnel in the teaching profession, university up to ECDE,
Yeah.
to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
And we actually know the number of teachers Kenya has.
True.
And the number of university dons that Kenya has.
That's true.
And the medics. So we can roll out this thing and finish the doses in 3 months or in just 3 weeks.
That's true. Thank you very much, Omar.
But you're welcome. You're welcome.
Asante sana. Sami in Nakuru, good morning.
Good morning.
Good
morning, How are you?
How are you?
Very well.
Thank you.
Oh, my contribution this morning is I think the government is not doing enough. Like, you see, like the polio vaccine campaign sometimes back.
Yeah.
They went where the people are. Right now, we are saying 58 years and above. 58 years is the retirement age.
Yeah.
I would not even accept my mom, who is about 65 years, to come to town, because I don't know what she's going to get on the way. So why don't the government, the Beyond Zero lorries and the rest, go to where the people are?
Yep.
Yeah?
That's true.
Bring the nurses and doctors to the estates. Tell them, okay, we are here and we are doing this from this time to this time.
Yeah,
But if you're
they can
expecting
do
this,
mobile vaccination. Just
they
count.
can do more. They can do more. Like, I had my vaccine last week on Wednesday. I have tried to tell a few of my friends, okay, let's do this. They said, no, let's see how you're going to react. Let's see. Because there's so many negative information moving around than the positive information. So I think the government needs to pull up its socks. Because together with this, all of us, we can make it.
Asante
Thank
sana,
you.
Sami.
Thank you very much.
Amani.
Good morning, guys. How are you all?
Good morning,
Amani.
Very well, thank you, Amani.
Great. My contribution is basically, I think, on two issues. And that is, I think the government, the Kenyan government, or governments all over the world, really have a uphill task to convince their citizens to take this COVID vaccine. Because to me, unlike any other vaccine before, it has never happened that the narrative has been so negative at all. Look at the polio vaccines, the measles vaccines, the tuberculosis, yellow fever. There has never been an onslaught by people claiming to be experts, fighting them to death, as has happened with COVID-19. It's been totally unreasonable, totally unscientific, even by the scientists themselves and the doctors themselves. People come up with the most wildest claims, and they have no laboratory tests to prove their claims. They have no peer review done. They have not presented any papers, but they're standing there with absolute confidence, telling the whole world through social media that this thing is bad, it's going to kill you. In fact, Bill Gates is just looking for money, and he has been demonized totally. And Bill Gates, as we all know, has been giving vaccines for the last 20 plus years to the whole world.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, with C-19, totally unreasonable, totally unscientific.
So what can the
So
governments do, Amani?
The governments have to really build trust. And as you've been saying, messaging has to improve. They have to be honest enough and say, as it is for all medications, by the way, so people think that contraindications, which is basically the harmful effects of medicine, only apply to C-19. This is a lie. Anybody going to the medical cabinet at home, they just have to pick up the leaflet and read. it will always say contraindications, which means harmful effects, and it also says allergic reactions, and it also says side effects. All medicine. It's not only specific to COVID or to this particular vaccine. All other vaccines, all of them. This is what people need to really understand. That yes, they will be side effects. There will be allergic reactions. There will be contraindications. But that does not mean you demonize the medication because it works for other people who do not have those problems.
That's true.
I have constant problems medications that most people can take. And I understand that. These are individual issues. Yeah? But it doesn't mean I demonize the medicine, tell people do not take it, it'll kill you. Goodness, that'd be totally irresponsible.
Amani, have you gotten your vaccine?
Yes, I've taken it. And believe me, I sent it to everybody when the MOH, I think centers was being distributed for everybody to know where to go. And normally when you distribute stuff or, you speak to people through WhatsApp and stuff or communicate through WhatsApp, there's always a response. There was basically dead silence, other than 3 people who were very happy. The rest, hostile. Yombaya. They are not going.
Where did you get your vaccine from?
I went to Nairobi Hospital.
All right.
And the queues were very low. From around 11 o'clock, I went, I think, was it Friday? By 11 o'clock, the queues there was hardly anybody there. And there were people of all races.
Okay.
And all backgrounds.
Did you get the SMS from MOH?
Yes, I did, thank God.
Any certificate?
I'll keep myself, how will they ever know that I took it to take the second one? As I think Du has been saying the whole morning, which is very right.
Thank you, Amani.
So I'm okay, I'm good, but the messaging has to be clear, concrete, scientific. Pombe did the worst things to Africa and Tanzanians. He killed them. And he's a scientist. Very wrong. Yes.
Hear you,
Thank
Amani.
you, Amani.
Guys,
Asante sana.
take care and keep speaking, keep preaching. Please, we need you to do that.
Asante.
As the media.
We'll do
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Justice says this vaccine hesitancy is a combination of habits, communication, health system failures, public mistrust, the economy. All those things together are contributing to this hesitancy.
He is absolutely right. You see, care-seeking behavior doesn't take priority in most people's lives, where most is the bulk of the people in this country. People go to hospital when they're at death's door, when you absolutely have to and you must. Otherwise, they will self-medicate. Now here you tell them to take a vaccine, and he is fine, or she is fine. They're not feeling unwell. And then someone tells them, this vaccine actually is not what they're saying. Sana. Yes. In fact, when I talked to him, he told me he felt like he had 3 heads instead of 1. That's it. They were already hesitant, but this one, it's not as though they will check the truth of it, but all you require is information that lends itself to what you wanted to do in the first place.
It's causing blood clots.
That's enough.
Yes, that's it.
enough.
And then it's doing so in the West, where they have better ways of preventing
and
this
they're
thing.
refusing it.
Yes. And then there is a hesitancy of care-seeking behavior among men. Just a normal hesitancy.
They'll say no.
Men, no, they're not going.
For
No.
what? Hospital?
Just-
No.
it's
I'll
just
be
a
okay.
small
Just
pain,
give me
yeah.
hot water.
Yes. Now, when you take that into consideration, Justice is spot on.
So as it sounds that anybody who walks into a vaccination clinic is
They'll
basically
give
getting
you-
the jab.
Yeah, that's what it looks like right now.
Yeah.
Because anybody, without falling into
Just
those
go.
particular
You don't have to be
categories.
58 and above. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't just go and try your luck if you want really to get your vaccine.
Just go.
Okay, just go.
Just go.
Go get your vaccine.
Have your identification.
We will
national.
deal now with the government later, because clearly this is a big failure by government.
And I haven't heard of any report where health workers have turned somebody away because they were not.
They were not within the category.
No. They have the vaccine. You present yourself. You get vaccinated.
Yeah, because they've gotten to a point where people are not coming for the vaccine. So just when you've come, and this thing I have opened, so this batch needs to be finished.
Expanded, yeah.
There you go. So people are really, really going for those things. You said your best one was the polio vaccine, the rollout. I look at elections. every 5 years, the entire country holds a general election.
And how many people do we vote for?
Six elections. So in the last election, let's say 15 million people participated in 6 elections. 15 by 6, 90 million votes.
Voting processes.
90 million. And it happens between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Smoothly. One day.
Actually, that thing is smooth.
Ballots, of course, are not at the polling center 3 days before. They arrive on the night too. There are people who are there. You go, you queue, you participate, you go home, it's counted, and within 24 hours of the polling center closing, results are being announced. So if that logistics happens, how can we talk about 1 million doses targeting 500,000 people? Not be possible. In fact, this thing should have happened in a day.
Actually,
Pop, they've come in a day, we're done.
Tell me something
All
else.
the doctors, all the teachers before
And guess
schools
what?
closed,
Election
all the military
also
officers.
is voluntary.
Yes.
Election also is voluntary.
And people go and participate and they know. And they queue and they wait on the queue.
You know, I remember when we had situations of supposed apathy among government workers when it came to HIV. We went there. So we knew what needed to be done. To test, we'd go. Go to prison. Go to the police station even.
Yep.
Just, the thing is, the government has the means. Whenever I say the government has the means, I mean it. The government has the means to ensure that this plan of theirs has to be done. And with the government, I mean the Ministry of Health. One has to be specific here. They can do it.
They have the capacity.
They
can do it.
They can.
City, as we conclude today's proverb.
Supposing doesn't fill the grain basket, if doesn't fill the ladder.
Supposing doesn't do what?
Fill the grain basket.
If?
Doesn't fill the ladder.
Okay. Don't introduce the word it. If
You
it doesn't fill the
cannot be full and you can't have food with stories. No.
Stories will not feed you.
No, they won't feed you.
That's it. That's a whole point.
Yes.
All right. So we have a new show coming that started on Friday. And it's coming up next. And this is?
Sugar and Spice.
Sugar and Spice. And
Yolanda.
Everything Nice
and
is now the
everything
music.
Okay.
Okay.
Voila.
The presenters are Yolanda and DJ Absolute. Yep. Yes. And so she is the sugar, he is the spice.
Hey, Eric Latif.
Yeah.
Okay.
So keep it right here for that show coming up next. And then we'll be taking you home with Spice Drive later on from 3 o'clock. And then Barbara will be here at night. She's the adult in the room. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.